Hey everybody, it's JJ and we're back again for ASUS PCDIY hardware live stream. Hopefully everybody is having a positive and productive Friday. Everybody's staying safe, staying healthy, and hopefully it's not too cold in your neck of the woods. It's starting to definitely get a little bit colder here in Northern California. Happy to be back, of course. I was away a little bit because, of course, if you guys don't know, in ASUS, at the end of the year, we actually have something that's called our GSM meeting. So it's actually an end-of-year review. I actually have the chance to head over to headquarters and be able to check out some of the latest and greatest products that we're going to be having for 2023. Some really exciting stuff that we're going to start, of course, making announcements on. And some of you guys that are, of course, already part of our ASUS PCDIY group got the opportunity to go ahead and check one of the awesome announcements that I've been really exciting to actually get ready to talk about in the not too distant future, which is, of course, with the big updates that we've had for the announcement for the ROG Swift OLED 27-inch, which has been a monitor that we've had internally under design and development for quite some time. And then, of course, another announcement that we knew was coming down the pipeline is now, of course, one that I've gone ahead and posted, which is the announcement for our 40 series graphics cards coming up in white, which is, of course, a very exciting opportunity for those of you that are looking for those white themed builds. That's going to be an awesome base card, and there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up in early 2023, of course, with CES, but we've got a lot to talk about in this stream. So let's go ahead and give you guys a little bit just kind of quick kind of recap in terms of what we're going to be diving into, because we've got a lot to actually touch on. So we've got actually quite a number of UEFI updates that I'll be going over because, of course, I wasn't here last week. So I want to recap the ones that we had last week as well as the ones that we have this week. So we've got that first and foremost. And then from there, we've got some, of course, other updates that we'll be touching on. So these are just some of the new products that we've gone ahead and announcement this week. So we've got just a soft announcement for essentially a soft refresh for the RTX 3070 Ti. So I'll quickly touch on that. Of course, a big announcement finally, of course, our dual chamber chassis with the GT502, which is now finally going to be hitting the market in both white and black. So that's a really exciting update to our chassis lineup. Got a really cool actually touchscreen monitor with the BE 24-inch, which is very cool if you're interested in actually taking advantage on your desktop with touch and not just a nice high quality IPS based display. An update to our peripheral lineup with the ROG Chakram X Origin, and then also a follow-up update continuing this little bit of a white theme with the ROG Cetra True Wireless, but now also in white. There's actually also going to be a couple of other updates that we've got too, which include the GT6, which will be actually our first ROG mesh networking router that we're going to go ahead and touch on. And I think that hopefully be about it, but we'll see. As always, we'll also make sure to go ahead and take a look at your guys' questions, comments that we have popping up in the stream. So let's see who we've got joining us, and let's see what we've got going on. Looks like we got Pidgey PCs. He gives us a little bit of a whoop for the GT502. Yes, I'm definitely excited about the GT502. It's awesome. And I'll give you guys a little bit of some insight. I've had the opportunity to check out also the update that we're going to have for our kind of entry-level series chassis. So if you guys know, we have the GT301, which was a follow-up to the GT501. And so the GT502, of course, doesn't replace the 501. We're still going to have the 501 and the 502. But we're actually going to have an update to the 300 series. In the 300 series, it'll be actually the 302, and I can tell you I've had the opportunity to check it out, and it's awesome. So for those of you that are looking kind of maybe for that sweet spot in terms of price to performance to feature set, I think this is going to be a really exciting one. I really love the overall ID design. I think the fit finish functionality and the overall design implementation that we have on it, it's really exciting. And also we guys have talked about it for a long time. We've been teasing it all the way back from the prior CES and even a little bit before that, but the upcoming GR701, which is the update to our ROG series of chassis. So this is a follow-up to the GX601. So this will essentially be an alternative to the Helios, that actually even be a higher end version of the Helios. And I can tell you I got to see the final sample of it while I was at headquarters, and it's fantastic. If you're looking for a high-end build, whether it's going to be air-cooled or water-cooled, you're definitely going to want to check out the 701. It's going to be sweet. So some very, very, very cool stuff in that regard. So let's see who else we have here. We have somebody over checking us out on Facebook. Thanks so much for joining us. Also giving us a little bit of a thank you and a welcome back. Fantastic to have you here. So let's see who else we've got. We've got Paskowitz joining us. Hey, man, thanks so much for joining us on the stream. Eric, as always, happy to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us on the stream and letting us know that the audio is good. We've got Lloyd joining us as well. And let's go ahead and see. We've got H2O Computers. We've got Sue Min. We've got Poor Greek Builds also. Oh, and the one, the only, the masterclass builder himself from Canada, Mr. Sneff. And let's go ahead and route it out there with a hello to David. So fantastic. Happy to have everybody here joining us on the stream. Oh, all right. One more. Vitor. How you doing, Vitor? Thanks so much for joining us. But again, a lot of really exciting stuff. So if you guys, again, are not part of the ASUS PCDIY group, make sure to go ahead and join, because I'm going to tell you it's going to be a very busy next few weeks in terms of the overall announcements. Maybe not all the announcements as we get to the very end of this month, but definitely as we start to get in January, and definitely for CES, rest assured there's going to be a lot of coming updates. Okay. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the first of it. And we'll go from there. So give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and actually just bring up the video here so we can go ahead and take a look at this. 1 second here. And we'll go ahead and check this out first, okay? So I think first we're going to go ahead and just quickly take a look at the I think the ROG Swift, right, OLED. So I think this has been a really big announcement, of course. So I know a lot of people have been waiting on this monitor, so this is going to be a very big update for us. So this is going to essentially be the ROG Swift, as you see it right there. So let me go ahead and just put a little bit of a title there. This is the PG27AQDM. And that will be a follow-up. So now we, of course, have 3 different OLED monitors, right? So we have the ROG Swift 42 and we have the ROG Swift 48. So those are large format based monitors, but I know a lot of people have been waiting. Hey, when are you guys going to be releasing something that's going to be smaller? So we already did release the PA OLED 32-inch, which is a fantastic monitor if you're looking for 4K and 32 inches. But I think, again, for the price point and for the target kind of audience, 1440p really has now become the de facto sweet sweet spot for a large amount of gamers. And for those that still are kind of maybe rocking 1080p and looking to maybe update to 1440p, this is going to be a really exciting monitor because, of course, you're going to bring a lot of those key benefits that OLED brings to the table. So number one, of course, is going to be that essentially super impressive contrast, those true blacks, and then ultra low response time. Those are going to be really the three big factors that we've got right here. Now, there's going to be some more exciting things that we're going to be talking about in terms of the design and the feature set as we get a little bit closer to CES, and we'll go through the kind of the full formal announcement. So here, though, we can let you know essentially, right, this is going to be a 1440p based display, so 2560 by 1440. 0.3 milliseconds response time, G-Sync compatibility. It will support the full ASUS ergonomic suite of adjustments. You're also going to see that this is actually a brand new ID design. So this is going to kind of usher in the next generation of ROG Swift-based designs, while still kind of paying homage to the prior generation. You still will be able to also support the ROG desk mount kit. So that's the C-mount clamp design. So if you don't want to essentially take up some of that extra space that you have with a traditional stand and you just want to go ahead and leverage it directly on your desk, you can still take advantage of the ROG desk mount kit. So that's going to be an exciting update. And there'll be definitely some more details, like I said, as we get a little bit closer. This will also still continue all the tradition of all the Swift monitors, so it'll be individually calibrated, right, to be able to ensure great out-of-box color accuracy. And there'll, of course, be a lot more that we're going to be talking about as we get closer to launch. But let's go ahead and quickly check out the little launch teaser video that we've got for this guy. This is going to be pretty sweet. Okay, let me go ahead and bring it up right here. I've got it. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. All right. So again, been in design and development for a long time. I'm really excited actually about this monitor. I think a lot of people are going to be very excited about it in terms of its feature set. You also might have noticed right there in terms of the actual top, it's also continuing a design that we implemented in the last year, which is going to be the introduction of the tripod mount. So that means that the actual top of the monitor, if you want to go ahead and add additional kind of accessories right here, so that could be things like a camera, it could be things like an LED. You know, you have quite a number of different accessories that you could go ahead and attach to the top. You could attach a microphone. You do a lot of different things. It's really kind of up to you with that tripod mount. You can actually, yeah, I've even seen some other people that have actually added a secondary monitor. So you could take actually one of our monitors that we have, so like one of our portable monitors, and even stack another monitor on top of the monitor if you wanted to have like a dual monitor setup. So that's kind of pretty cool, pretty interesting. So that is going to be an update. We also have definitely some other ROG monitors will be coming out in the not too distant future, so make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned for that. All right, let's go ahead and quickly see if we got any quick questions that I can go ahead and jump into on this guy. Keep in mind, I can't go into all the details yet because it hasn't, essentially, this is just a quick little bit of a teaser announcement, okay? Will this fit the current desk mount? Yes, so as I already noted, it will support the ROG desk mount kit. So looks like Angel's saying is that will be my next monitor without a doubt. Very, very cool. Oh, hey, DePoets, what do you think? Are you excited about this brand new announcement that we've got with the ROG Swift 27-inch OLED-based monitor? It's a pretty exciting display, right? OLED, 27 inches, 1440p, 240 hertz. Sounds pretty good to me. But fantastic. Z790 ProArt board. That's a fantastic board, and I know you love your 10G LAN, right? So that is definitely going to be a fantastic choice for that. But that board's got a lot of great features and functions, especially for the price. So very, very cool. Hey Andreas, thanks for joining us also here on the stream. Let's see right here. Jim is noting is what is going to be the release date right now hasn't been finalized. We'll have a little bit more probably release information as we get a little bit closer to, like I said, the CS timeframe. We'll have some more details on that side. So make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned if you're interested in finding everything out when it comes to that. All right, so that takes care of that. Let's go ahead and go over to our next kind of quick teaser announcement, which if you guys, of course, are already part of the PCDIY community, you already know about this one, but let's go ahead and jump into it right here. And that is going to be this guy. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for this one, right? So let's go ahead and just a quick title right here. All right, so that's going to be it right here is the ROG Strix 40 series in white, guys. So right there, that is going to be the card. So this is going to be taking the same exact ID design that we already have currently for the 40 series graphics cards, and you can see right here it's now being offered in white. So discontinuing the tradition of what we've had now for the last number of generations, where we had 20 series in white, we had the 30 series in white, and now we've got the 40 series in white. ASUS really is, I think, committed most to the industry when we talk about offering a really rich ecosystem of accessories and components. Nobody can touch us when it comes to the depth of our ecosystem, especially when we're talking about white components. There's nobody from top to bottom. We literally have monitors in white, we have keyboards in white, so we have white mice, we have white headsets, we have white motherboards, white graphics cards. All right, literally every single component we've tried to target having a white offering, and even now adding more whites with things like the upcoming Ryu, which is also going to be in white. And I can tell you a little bit of a teaser, it's not coming anytime soon, but the next generation Ryujin, we are going to offer it in white. So for Ryujin lovers out there, when it does finally come to the market, it is going to be offered in white, and it is going to be offered in black. So just a little bit of a tease right there. So you can see right there, we've got those beautiful axial tech-based fans with that static pressure optimized design with, of course, the ring barrier right there. This is a fully metal shroud, so keep in mind, compared to the prior generation, which was a polymer composite material, so plastic, it's got even a little bit more of a premium fit and finish to it. Really a beautiful card. Anybody that's had the opportunity to feel the 40 series cards really will tell you that they feel absolutely fantastic, and I think, again, we're leading the industry in terms of overall fit, finish, and quality on the cards. You got that beautiful individual ARGB light design there on the tail, which looks fantastic. Overall, very, very cool ID design that we have here on the card. So as you guys know, a lot of these shots are vertically oriented. I'm always a fan more of the horizontal orientation. That's my personal preference, what I like the most. So this is the shot that I really love, and I love this really nice stylized accent that we have right here on the back plate, along with this nice like venting, the subtle design detailing that we have with the ROG Eye, and I really like the tail light design in this horizontal fashion with just this little bit of RGB accenting right here with the Republic of Gamers and then the GeForce RTX. So overall, really, really cool looking design. We will be offering a 4090 version and a 4080 version in white, with more details to come in the not too distant future, but hopefully we do expect to have this available, I would say sometime in the middle of January timeframe, but of course make sure to keep it tuned to the group and to the weekly stream for the specifics when it comes to the actual launch availability. This won't be a limited edition production, so compared to some of our other product lines where we have sometimes, let's say, like a limited production run and then it's no longer produced, this will be essentially a normal product, but it's always produced in a little bit of a smaller quantity than, of course, the much more popular black. Well, I know there's these really passionate users in white. The reality is that white is still a significantly smaller share of the market than compared to the black components. Okay, so again, 4080 and 4090 will be offered for the ROG Strix 40 series in white. Okay, so that's a quick little update and teaser that we've got for you there in that regard. Okay, so let me quickly see right here. So let's just see a little feedback. Connor says, I couldn't believe how premium the 4090 Strix felt. You guys absolutely nailed this the design, especially the backplate. Yeah, I think we really did a fantastic job. Again, it's a little bit hard to tell almost in I think when you're looking at the photos, for people that have actually had the opportunity to get it in hand, the construction material and the weight, I think even of all the competitors out there, it's just about the heaviest card on the market. There's even some cards that are bigger, but they don't even weigh as much as our card. I really have been impressed with the fit, the finish, and the quality of the overall card. And I think they look both fantastic, whether you're talking about the traditional black with, of course, that little bit of that accent color on the front, or you've got this one now with the white offering. Looks great. And of course, that TUF gaming graphics card, it's got that nailed ID design, which just looks really clean, really polished. It's got a little bit of that, I'd say, durable, tough kind of ID design to it, but definitely doesn't have that kind of a little bit more esoteric design that you get in our Hearst gaming product line, but I think it perfectly complements the TUF gaming products, right? All right. So very cool. Poor Greek Bills gives us a little bit of feedback, says they built it like an elegant tank. I really like that. Snef is giving us I'm in love. Very, very cool. Yes, Vitor says the white team wins, right? For those of you that are really big fans of the white products. Very, very cool. So Poor Greek Builds asks us, is there any chance that we might be looking at maybe something with maybe a specific XOC design? So that is actually something that we have kind of been evaluating. In the the past, we have kind of made XOC centric based card designs, but it's a very limited segment of the market. And there's a lot of different factors that you have to evaluate, right? Effectively, when you make kind of an XOC rated card, a lot of people don't want to lose their warranty, and people don't talk about this, but you're essentially breaking the warranty, right? Because you're violating many aspects in terms of how the card can operate. So it's a little bit kind of a tricky situation, especially when you talk about such a specialized design. I think right now, from a resource perspective, we would prefer to focus on cards where we see the biggest demand within the market. And we are supplementally offering maybe some enhancements. The current ROG Strix card has can have modified BIOSes that actually allow for even higher power limits and some other factors like that for, I think, users that want to have, you know, a little bit more kind of more performance tuning, whether they're going to be under air or whether they're going to be underwater. But we definitely do know that there's interest in terms of those specific kind of benchers that want maybe a little bit more. Right now, nothing to detail, but it is something that we're internally discussing, but nothing to detail in terms of that, hey, we're going to be offering, you know, this graphics card in the not too distant future. Hey, Sam, just ordered my ROG Crosshair X670E. Fantastic, man. The Crosshair is a fantastic board. Really, really sweet. Make sure to get yourself updated to the latest version of AGISA on that board so you can have the best interoperability compatibility experience. Plus, don't forget to check out a really cool feature that we have on our ROG series of motherboards called ASUS AIOC that we have specifically for X670. It actually allows for some really cool things that we have built in, such as automatic curve optimization is built in. You have PBO enhancement, which allow you to actually target different temperatures, along with PBO, which is an opportunistic boosting technology. So some really cool features that you have available to you on that board. So you definitely want to take advantage of them. All right. Next up, let's get ready to talk about actually UEFI updates. We've got a lot of updates here. So let me go ahead and just bring this up right here. So if you guys don't know what UEFI updates are all about, pretty straightforward, but most of you probably watching the stream do know what this is all about. So UEFI, of course, is the firmware for the motherboard. It pretty much controls the overall operating experience in terms of interoperability, compatibility, performance, and even specialized features and functions. Of course, we release new firmware updates on occasion, actually pretty much almost on a weekly basis for different types of products. And so here I try to cover what those updates would contain and why you might want to keep them in mind. Now, I always stress, and again, if you want to know a little bit more, make sure to consider joining the group and check out the featured post that I have that details all the information regarding what you want to keep in mind when you update your UEFI BIOS. If your system is running stable and reliable without any issues, there's no reason to update the UEFI. If you're specifically building a brand new system, then I do recommend flashing it to have that best baseline for interoperability, compatibility, and performance. But again, it's not a requirement. But we do incrementally add cool stuff into the UEFI, or we may patch things, or we may enhance compatibility, or we might help to extend overclocking margin or different things like that. But let's go ahead and jump into it, because we've actually got a pretty good swath of updates across different chipsets and different platforms. So let me go ahead and actually bring up my dock right here. Just so I have pretty much the list of all the different boards that we've got here. So I haven't posted this yet in the group, so keep in mind I will have an updated announcement post that I will post into the group that will include all the motherboards. So just watch out for that in the not too distant future, okay? So let me just go ahead and go over to my list here. So let's see here. So right now, you're going to see that there's going to be updates for actually quite a number of AM5 boards. A lot of that is going to be in the B series based motherboards. And so that's going to be also, there's going to be potential beta on some of these, which would be for the new AMD AGISA 1004. That is a beta. So if you want to wait for the formal, then of course go ahead. Keep in mind that if you install a beta, betas are not officially supported. So if you have an issue, well, you can report it to us. We're already working on the formal release, which may resolve the issue you're running into. So the betas are really released more so for users that kind of just want to be able to test out the latest and greatest, but they're not formally supported. So keep that in mind. Okay. Beyond that, there are actually also some updates to the older AM4 platform, which is already quite mature, and AM4 already got a wide level of updates not that long ago with the final release of the AGISA 1.2.0.7. So that was actually quite of a kind of culminated build over literally months in terms of AMD transitioning kind of from 1.0.3 to a 4 to a 5 to a 6 to a 7, and a lot of that was to help to resolve USB interoperability issues, enhance them, and then also FTMPS stutter with the latest versions of Windows. And here, we're essentially just seeing a little bit more kind of enhancement and refinement. So you'll see this on the X570-E, on the B550-E, and on the B550 Plus. There's also going to be a varying number of A520 boards that'll have them. So keep that out. I'll see if I can post this into the chat. I don't know how much the chat is going to maybe potentially restrict that. So I do have to be kind of cautious in that regard. So just kind of be mindful of that. But just make sure to check your motherboard if you have one of these potential chipsets. So again, A520 or B550 or X570, you might see essentially these updates. In addition to that, like I said, the B600 series for the AM5 platform is also seeing those updates. But like I said, for those, many of those are going to be with a beta release. Okay, B450 is also seeing a couple of additional update releases with boards like the B450M, both the Pro 2 and the Pro S, as well as the B450 Plus and the B450 Plus 2. So a couple of other boards there. Now, beyond that, there's also going to be updates on the B650 platform. So again, this is going to include boards like the B650-E, B650-EF, B650-A. You're going to see updates that are going to be there. And then we've actually got a wide range of updates that also came out this week, which would be for 12th gen or 13th gen series owners. And so this would apply on a large number of Z690 series motherboards. This is the 2204 release. Now here it's very important that we kind of go through a couple of things. So I'm going to actually bring up a board here just to actually show you guys exactly something that you're going to want to keep in mind. So I've already gone ahead and applied it here. This board right here, this is a Z690 Extreme board. It's already running. I've run it on 2 different test systems. I haven't had any issues with that. Some people, will say that they have certain experience with UEFI, so it can be quite complicated when you talk about interoperability and compatibility, because there can be a lot of factors as what affects your overall experience, especially if you're trying to go from overclock to overclock, which I don't generally recommend, especially when there's changes to what are called auto rules into the management engine. But that's a separate topic. And again, that is covered in our UEFI update guide. Okay, but the important thing that I want to note right here is that if we actually head over here, you can see this is the build 2204, right? But the important thing is that with the last couple of Intel updates, there's critically also been not just that primary BIOS update, so that UEFI BIOS update, but there's also been management engine firmware, and then there's also been a management engine firmware driver, right? You need to have all 3 of these. So the UEFI BIOS, the MEI firmware, and the driver ideally all want to be updated. And generally when you complete all these, I would also recommend you reinstall your chipset driver and you reinstall your graphics driver to hopefully have the most kind of streamlined and the best experience when it comes to that. So again, UEFI BIOS update, if you scroll down, so we keep moving down, you'll actually see there's a section right here that says firmware, and directly below that you'll see Intel ME, and so that's management engine, and you'll actually have an ME update tool. You'll need to run that management engine tool within the operating system, and once it runs, it will actually update the management firmware and you'll be good to go. You'll ask to be reboot your system. Now, once you've completed that, you're also going to need to head back over here to drivers and tools and go to your Windows corresponding build version. And let me just go ahead and scroll down here. Here you'll see under chipset, you'll have a lot of different drivers. You have things like the GNA, the SIO, the chipset driver, but you're also going to have the management engine driver, right? So you want to make sure that essentially that corresponds to the firmware that you have flashed onto the board. Okay, so again, those 3 things that you would want to keep in mind. So if you do update to some of these latest releases, this is important for Z690 owners that might be adopting 13th gen, or even if they're not adopting 13th gen, but they decide for whatever reason they want to update their UEFI, as some users do, make sure to follow these steps. Update that UEFI firmware, then update the management engine, and then update that corresponding driver. Okay, so that should pretty much take care of that. And for those updates, quite a number of boards. Literally, everything the Extreme, the Extreme Glacial, the Formula, the Hero, the Apex, the Dash E, the Dash F, the Dash A, the Prime Dash A, the Dash G, the Dash I, the Creator, the TUF Gaming. Z790 plus Wi-Fi and non-Wi-Fi all got those corresponding updates. So a huge number of those boards all received that corresponding update. All right. So let me go ahead and just see if there's any quick questions on right there. All right. So Terry's asking right here, speaking of motherboards, what is your personal opinion of the ROG Strix B550-F gaming? I think it's a fantastic board. It's it's B550, solid platform. For the majority users, it's probably a better choice than X570 if you're trying to save a little bit more in terms of your budget. It's an ROG Strix board, so you're going to get an upgrade compared to the TUF. I like the Supreme Effects audio design that we have there, along with the Sonic Studio audio suite. ID design is really solid. I mean, there's really very little that you're kind of losing once you step all the way up to something like the Dash F or the Dash E. And I think the Dash F for a lot of people compared to the Dash E, even though you get a little bit more rich I/O going onto the Dash E, it's a really great baseline. Usually my base recommendation for a lot of people is going to be the TUF Gaming Plus, so you've already kind of made a step up to that, but really a fantastic board. And the reality is also you can run every single Ryzen 5000 series CPU on there without an issue. So whether you want to go with something like a 5600, 5800 X3D, or 5950X if you wanted to, they'll all run on there without any issues. All right. The Cayman's asking, hey, how you doing? Can you tell us when the Loki will be available? Actually, I already talked about this in a stream a few weeks ago. You could actually go back. It's titled, I think, in the description regarding an update on all of our current generation PSUs, but you won't see anything in terms of availability for the Loki at earliest until probably about the middle to the end of January timeframe, okay? And again, if you're part of our PCDIY group, I have something that I post into the group, and so you'll see them right here. I think I already showed this little image a little bit earlier. This little guy right here, where I essentially will announce any of the new products, and I'll talk about them on the weekly stream. That'll let you know actually, hey, we've now formally released these products. They're going out into the channel. What's the expected overall release availability? So we also do tease the products, like I was the first one to tease the actual Loki. But until we actually have a what's called product introduction, then it hasn't actually been released yet. So at earliest, like I said, probably going to be January, and I already covered that a while back ago. All right. RC Cosplay is saying, is there any OLED burn-in with new monitors? So OLED is a technology inherently in terms of the way it's designed is that burn-in is going to be a factor that you have to account for. If you really kind of want the highest level of confidence in terms of not having this type of experience, then you would still want to go with the traditional LCD-based panel in this regard. There's a lot of mitigating technologies that we put into the design of the product, whether you're talking about like pixel shifting, there's specialized refreshing policies, even the way that we actually handle temperature. Temperature is critical to actually influencing the possibility of burn-in, just because of the nature of the organic light emitting diodes, so the OLED technology in itself. So the better you can maintain the temperature performance, this can also help in terms of reducing burn-in. But even within all of that, there's still certain things that you would want to do as a user to try to reduce that even further, right? So while some users may not, some users may still experience it over time. Overall, we think that it's a mature enough technology that we've integrated into many products that we offer. So we have portable displays with OLED, we have professional ProArt series displays with OLED, we have of course now gaming displays with OLED. So we do think that it's a mature enough technology to feel confident in, but there are still some considerations compared to traditional LCD displays that you have to keep in mind. Okay, all right. Chris is asking, do I need a quick flash BIOS before bringing it? Sorry. I think you're asking, do you need to update the UEFI to be able to support the 5800 X3D on a ProArt Creator board? You should actually be okay. Pretty much any of the boards that have been in active production for some time should already have a baseline UEFI firmware that should allow you to just essentially drop in the CPU and get up and running. That being noted, there's probably much newer UEFIs that help to improve the overall interoperability, compatibility, and performance. And for a new build, especially I think a creator-focused build, you want that best USB experience. So I would update a minimum to the latest generation of GISA that supports 1.2.0.7 so you can get the best experience. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and see right here. Sneff giving me a quick question. Oh, the hoodie. Want one for cold weather? Yeah, actually, we have a fantastic set of apparel. If you guys have not checked this out, let me go ahead and quickly touch on this really quick before I go into my next little segment right here. But I was actually going to touch on this a little bit later, but I'll go ahead and just do it right now. We actually have a great set of kind of winter apparel. If you guys are interested, I definitely would check it out. There's actually everything from, really actually weather resistant coats. So if you actually are going to be stuck out there in terms of sleet, snow, some rain, we've got some great options. If you just kind of want to lounge around, have something a little bit going to be warmer in the house. This one's much older, so it's not going to be available there, but there's some much cooler ones, actually ones that I've announced in the past. So let me go ahead and head over here. and show you guys. So if you head over to our store, so this is actually going to be sadly not for our friends in Canada because we do not have an ASUS store in Canada, but for our friends in the US, you can go ahead and check it out. We have already added some new filtering options, so we can say, hey, in stock right now. So this is actually brand new one. This is actually one of my favorites right here. The new Cosmic Lit hoodie. If you guys remember, I posted about this one. It's actually really, really nice in terms of the overall construction. Nice high quality cotton right here. Some nice actually pulls, expanded actually design right here to allow for a little bit more room, even if you're going to actually put headphones on over, which not all actually kind of hoodies or sweatshirts allow for that. And some really cool ID design and even a little bit of a cool kind of subtle glow in the dark design. Really, really nice actually option right there, the Cosmic Lit hoodie. But even all the way down to something, you know, as a nice little maybe kind of layered piece of clothing right here with a little bit of a windbreaker. So you could go ahead and put that over something, maybe like a long sleeve sweatshirt. You can go with something like that. That's only 30 bucks. I think that's a really nice option. We've got a little bit more of a traditional kind of sweatshirt if you don't want to go with the kind of the hoodie design. And again, lots of different sizes options right here. The facial recto design is a really cool option too. The message sweatshirt I think is actually really, really cool. This right here, the asymmetry jacket. I'm trying to actually see one if I can maybe get one of these for the group and maybe do a little bit of a giveaway. But this guy's actually really cool. This actually uses what's called laminated construction. If you don't know actually what laminated construction is, it's the way the actual material actually is bonded, and it allows you that really high quality gear is actually going to use a lamination bonded technique because that allows for the highest level of actually resistance in terms of permeability. So that means essentially water making ingress. So if you really want something that's actually going to be really good for protecting you from water getting to you, right? As well as actually maintaining that heat, right? This will actually insulate you a bit more, right? And be really great in terms of repellent. So you don't have to worry again about kind of rain, sleet, snow, or anything along those lines. And some really kind of cool little subtle design pieces like right here where this opens up. You can kind of keep all your internal things, maybe your phone, documents, wallet, whatever right there. Pull it open, access it, and pull it back out, right? Some really nice design cues in terms of cinching in to make it a little bit more comfortable. Tuck in right there. Some really cool kind of design accents. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked those out, check them out. We've got a lot of really cool stuff there. They continue to expand actually a lot of really cool stuff in terms of our apparel line. So we've got everything now from bags to shirts to sweatshirts, you know, slings, all kinds of stuff in between. So some cool things to check out right there. All right, so let me go ahead and see right there. By next Friday, our high temp will be -1. Ooh, Ken, well, man, hopefully you're able to stay indoors. That's a little bit brutal for me. Here in Northern California, about the coldest we're going to be getting is probably in the 20s, which was already quite nippy for me. So definitely -1. Ouch. That's a tough one. So hopefully you'll be able to stay warm. All right, let's go ahead and keep things moving along, guys, and now get to actually some of our new products that we've got here in terms of announcements. So if you guys have, of course, any other questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in there. So let's go first over here and talk about the new edition right here, which is going to be actually a board that I did talk about in our launch live stream, but always comes a little bit later as of late with some of our kind of launches that we've done. And that is going to be the TUF Gaming Z790 plus Wi-Fi, but this is going to be the DDR5 version. So we have already gone ahead and launched this board and a DDR5. If you are now interested in a DDR5 variant, and this kind of the great thing about this board is really kind of from a price to performance ratio, really fantastic in terms of the kind of core feature set. It looks great feature set, great functionality, and it's really just a solid option. So if you don't want to jump into the ROG Strix or the ROG Maximus class, this is a really good choice. So this right here is going to be the TUF Gaming Z790 plus Wi-Fi. You'll know the difference between the DDR4 and the DDR5 version because the DDR4 version says D4 and this one would be DDR5. There's also a little bit of a difference right here in terms of the ID design. So let me go ahead and just bring this one up a little bit closer right here. But you'll see we actually have like this cool little bit of a plating design right here. So that is not going to be present on the DDR4 version, but they still both feature the new updated kind of vector design language that we have on the boards. So of course, you really get all the kind of core features that you would want in terms of a Z790 series based board. So you're going to have support, of course, for PCI Express Gen 5 in terms of that primary graphics. The main kind of difference you're going to have if you were to go to maybe a higher end board is you'll see right here is you have 4 M.2, which is quite a bit, right? 4 M.2 slots already on the motherboard, but something like the ROG Strix Z790-E would also give you PCI Express Gen 5 for both the M.2 as well as for the graphics, right? So that is going to be a little bit of difference. But the reality is, even for the upcoming standard like direct storage, which is going to really offer the next generation experience for storage and gaming, that is only going to require PCI Express Gen 4. So you don't have to have PCI Express Gen 5. But if you're really excited about PCI Express Gen 5, then, you know, something to keep in mind. And I would tell you guys, we did do a little bit of a soft announcement, so if you guys paid attention to the past, you'll know that I do. But we are going to be releasing a PCI Express Gen 5 based SSD, and I can tell you, I've seen it at headquarters. It's amazing. You might go, JJ, what's going to be so cool? It's an SSD, right? Well, all I can tell you is that ROG is going to bring it. We've got really some amazing design elements to this Gen 5 based SSD. So as always, just make sure to keep it tuned, and you're going to find out some really great stuff when we actually go fully into unveiling this next generation drive. So some really cool stuff in that regard. So overall, though, a great addition. You'll probably be seeing this maybe by the end of the month, but you probably won't see it until maybe next month for the majority of e-tailers. I would probably expect Newegg is probably going to be first in terms of its overall availability. And in terms of the price point on that guy, that one is going to be coming in at essentially $300, $299.99, but you can go ahead and round it up by a penny and make it $300, okay? So that will be the TUF Gaming Z790 Plus DDR5 version, okay? All right, let me go ahead and just see any quick questions right there. Somebody's saying -1 perfect for overclocking, right? Snuff saying we had 14 inches of snow and we're close to 24 inches tomorrow. Wow. But probably your dog loves it, right? So yeah, so maybe there's at least some benefits to that, right? So overall, some pretty cool stuff. Michael is giving us a little bit of a vroom. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, so next up here, this one I'm not going to spend really actually any time on it because it's not new. It's just a little bit of a slight tweak to the model name revision, just because it's a revision that we're having on the production side. But this is going to be that there'll be a new variant essentially for the 3070 Ti. And so we will have, of course, 2 versions of this card. We will have the OC version and the non-OC version. So the OC version will be coming in. Let me go ahead and readjust the title right here. So give me 1 second. That's going to be coming in. The non-OC is going to be coming in at $599.99, so essentially $600, and then the OC version will be coming at $649.99, so essentially $650. Okay, so let me go ahead and just bring this up right here, really quick. All right, so here we go. That'll be this guy. Many are already familiar with this because we, of course, have already had this. Like I said, this is just a change on the production side. So the easiest way to know whether you're looking at the OC version or the non-OC version is it will have OC in the designation. So this one, you can see there's no OC. So that would mean it's the non-overclocking model. Now, as always, some people get confused by this. If it doesn't say OC, it doesn't mean that you can't overclock it. You can, of course, still fully manually overclock it. The main difference between the OC and the non-OC is that the OC model is essentially already pre-validated. It's overclocked at the factory. So we essentially have to sort the GPUs, test the GPUs at that higher programmed GPU boost clock speed, and verify that it operates at that. So with overclocking, it's never guaranteed. So essentially that's the difference, right? An overclocked model, generally on average, will net you somewhere between about 3 to 6 frames bumps in terms of kind of the performance increase. That's generally around the target that you'll get in terms of a performance increase. But that's the difference between the OC and the non-OC. Otherwise, all the other design elements in terms of the heatsink, the fan assembly, the ID design, everything else is identical between between the 2 cards. So it's literally just the clock speeds. And you can always check that by, if you go into the tech specs, the tech specs of the card will tell you right there that there's like a default mode and then there's an OC mode. If you wonder, we always actually give you this. This is a really kind of unknown feature of ASUS cards, is that if you go into GPU tweak, we always even on the non-overclock cards, we do give you an OC profile. And the OC profile is actually a carefully tuned or vetted profile that we've checked internally that we generally find that many GPU samples will be able to hit. So when you install GPU tweak, you actually have the option to you can run it at default, or you can go into that OC preset, and the OC preset will give you a little bit of that boost up in terms of the frequency, giving you a little bit better performance. So just if you didn't know, now you know. There you go. All right, so again, that'll be coming a little bit later in terms of overall availability. And again, for pricing, $600 or $650, depending on whether it's on the standard model or whether it's the OC model. Okay. All right, so next up right here, let's go up to another one right here. And this is going to be the ROG Chakram Origin. So this is actually the mouse that I pretty much use right here on the stream all the time. This little beautiful mouse right here. It's great for people to have a little bit larger hands. So if you're, I'd say, somebody that's in that, 5'10", 5'11", 5'12", over 6 foot, definitely over 6 foot category, you might prefer a mouse that's actually a little bit larger than a lot of the mice that are on the market, which tend to work better, I think, for people that are generally between about like 5'4" to 5'10", actually maybe 5'6" to 5'10", because under 5'6", sometimes people's hands are a little bit smaller, and actually they might even want something a little bit more compact. But the Origin, it's really a fantastic mouse. Has a lot of class-leading features, functions, and specifications on it. A lot of customization options, which are really, really cool. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at it. Again, if you actually want to find more about this mouse, you can actually check out our wireless live stream where I've gone ahead and done a deep dive on this mouse. I've talked about all of its kind of features and functions. You'll find that here on the YouTube channel right here. But the Origin, what has it got? Well, it has one is our new ROG aimpoint sensor. That's a 36,000 DPI sensor. Something also that almost no other manufacturers do on the market is we actually do specialize what's called CPI deviation. If you actually search a little bit, Google, you'll actually find that there can be a little bit of an issue with this. Deviation is actually that from kind of one mouse to another mouse to another mouse, the actual sensor itself can actually have deviation. And so we actually bin this and test for this actually at the factory to ensure that the actual sensor's performance is within 1%. It's the tightest in the industry. So you get really, really high consistency between essentially one mouse to another mouse to another mouse to another mouse. So we really are proud of doing that. Again, it's a more costly type of design implementation, but it's our commitment to a very high performance experience with our mice. So ROG aimpoint sensor with that 36,000 DPI, also 8,000 hertz polling rate. That's pretty much flagship level, super fast. Keep in mind that you do actually want a fairly fast CPU if you have 8,000 hertz polling, because literally it's more cycles that the CPU has to process. So it is actually more information that's actually getting sent through the bus. Really cool here is this mouse is also fully tri-mode. That means that you can do Bluetooth, 2.4 gigahertz low latency, or you can use, of course, USB-C. So you can use any one of the three connections. It does come with our ultra lightweight ROG paracord cable. It's pretty much almost drag-free. Really, really nice experience. The really cool thing right here is going to be the programmable joystick that you're going to have on this mouse. So that right here is going to be this guy. You can actually go ahead and remove it if you don't want it. It can be used as digital or analog. You also have now enhanced multiple buttons in addition to this, which give you a lot of flexibility to go ahead and customize with the different types of control setups, depending on the overall experience that you want for the mouse. All right, so a lot of cool stuff in that regard. Now, the main difference between the Origin and the non-Origin is the non-Origin, right, will come with Qi wireless charging. So that means you can charge it like on the Baltus Qi, which is our wireless desk mat. Our desk mat, which supports wireless charging. Or you could use it on any type of inductive charging, right? But the Origin does not have that. And it's also just a little bit lighter, a few grams lighter. So that's really kind of the main difference, is that Qi wireless charging and the weight. But right there you can see that customization element with the digital joystick that's on the side there. You can do digital or analog, or you can remove it entirely. The other really cool thing too is that with this generation is that it does support the push fit socket design. So if we go back here, where is it right here? Yeah. So this design right here, it's really sweet because it actually gives you that flexibility that you can go ahead and remove the plates on it. So the buttons, those buttons right here, they easily just pop off, And when you pop them off, it gives you the flexibility. If you want to change out the switches, you can change out the switches. Now it already comes with our premium switches, our ROG micro switches, which are really, really crisp, really tight, and they're also, again, binned for consistency, which I don't think any other manufacturer states that they bin their switches for consistency, and we do. And they also have an electrical junction, and that electrode junction plating is actually in gold to reduce oxidation. This helps to reduce double clicks over time. But the great thing is, because there's no soldering required, if you want to change out the switch and you want to go with a different switch, like you want to go with TTC switches, Juano switches, Cherry switches, Kale switches, pick different switches you want, whether it's the feel, whether it's the sound, go for it. I've even shown how you can mod switches, so you can do silent switches. So if you want a quiet mouse, you can go with silent switches. Or if you want to use optical switches, this is the 2nd generation push fit design, like our Gladius 3 and some of our other mice. So you can actually use mechanical or optical switches. You can use either one. So this one will be coming in at a $30 price, $20 price delta. So this one will be coming in at $140, and the standard Chakram is $160. So $140 or $160. You want wireless charging and a little bit more weight, or you want no wireless charging and a little bit less weight. That's pretty much the difference. Okay. Let me just go ahead and see right there. Any quick questions that might have came up? Somebody's asking right here, being asked a lot if it's worth the upgrade from Z690 Strix to a Z790 Strix. So what are your thoughts? No, I don't think you actually should upgrade. The Z690 and the Z790 boards are effectively the same. There's, of course, a technical difference in terms of the chipset. There's also a little bit of a difference in terms of the PCB design and the signal integrity optimization. Z790 actually has a superior level of signal integrity, and this helps to aid in terms of DDR5 memory scaling. But even that, I actually have a full post on this that I've already done for the PCDIY group. So if you're part of the group, you can read that post, and it actually talks about this. And pretty much what it means is that if you're trying to target higher frequency memory, you can get a little bit more margin, a little bit more headroom on a Z790 series motherboard. But if you were to take a 13th gen series processor and run it on Z690, you'll still get an uplift in terms of memory target. So an example is, you know, in the prior generation, 6,000 was generally the new normal. About 7,000 is roughly the new normal for a Z790, right? Now, of course, that's still dependent on the IMC. Overall, generally, you're seeing an uplift, I'd say, in the vicinity of about 400, maybe 600 megahertz, in that range, roughly. But you can still, you know, realistically on a Z690 with 13th gen, you can actually have, you know, in the high 6,000s, and actually even breaks 7,000. So it's not like it's a huge limiting factor. It's just that you have a higher likelihood of success. So if you're somebody that really wants to make an investment in an ultra high memory kit, I would say especially 7,000 or higher, then it may be worth the investment. I would assume that if you're buying such expensive memory, you probably have a larger budget, so it's not going to be a concern to you just to replace the motherboard. But otherwise, from the overall experience and performance, they're pretty much going to be parity. So I would say no, I wouldn't change it. But if you're in that scenario specifically where you want the most overclocking margin, then there is a little bit of a benefit there. Okay. All right. Hey Colton, I already talked about the very beginning of the stream. We'll probably have a little bit more information regarding the release in the very beginning of January, but our target is to release the card sometime in January. Okay. Hey Hunter, thanks so much. I've loved ASUS mice for years, and I think that they're grossly underrated within the mouse community. I would definitely agree, and I think that our latest models are going to continue to really show why I think we have an amazing product portfolio. I'm a huge fan of our brand new ROG Gladius 3 Aimpoint and Curious Aimpoint, which are fantastic new additions, and we're hoping that those are really going to kind of be popular within the community and help to kind of see a bigger level of adoption and really show that we're really serious about offering great mice in terms of the overall features, function, quality of construction, which I think gets underplayed a lot. I would really put us up against anybody, and I think that compared to a lot of the other companies, we actually have a much better constructed mouse. So definitely would agree with that. Okay. All right. Lord Razzle says, I love the ability to swap switches in ASUS mice. I wish other manufacturers would do this. Well, actually, you know, there's a lot of R&D work that goes into that. And there is actually some IP kind of benefits to that. So the reality is that you shouldn't need to buy it from somebody else because we already offer it. So, you know, we have a really extensive portfolio. So hopefully you would just be taking a look at one of our mice, because I agree, having the ability to customize the switches is a really cool feature. All right. So that is the ROG Chakram. X Origin, right? All right, let's go ahead and go to the next item right here, and this is going to be the ROG Cetra True Wireless. Let me go ahead and bring it up right here, guys. All right, and this is going to be for the white edition. So let me go ahead and bring up the images for this guy. All right, here we go. So this is going to be the ROG Cetra Wireless, and let me go ahead and bring up the images of it first, and then we'll go to the product page right there. So give me 1 second. So if you guys don't know, the Cetra series is essentially our in-ears. We have a great lineup of in-ear options. So we actually have USB-C native options, which are really great. That means it's a hard cable right there and plugs directly. It could plug into your phone, your laptop, your desktop, your Nintendo Switch. Really great in terms of just the convenience, not having to worry about battery life or or charging it or anything along those lines. They use really nice tuned drivers, really nice balance in terms of the overall bass extension, mid-range, and the treble. I'm really a big fan of them in terms of the overall performance, in terms of the audio quality, the fit, and the finish. So we have the Cetra available to as well in white, and we also have it in black. We also have an analog version as well, so 3.5 millimeter. So you have quite a number of options for that. But we were really excited when we released these guys right here, which were going to be the Cetra True Wireless, which are essentially wireless, right? So they're fully Bluetooth. These are going to, of course, have a really cool stylized case. Of course, this allows you to maximize, of course, the charging life, right, where the units themselves have an integrated battery, but then you can have a further, of course, battery experience in terms of improving upon that by taking advantage of the charging case, right? So these do support a specialized low latency mode, which that's great for either videos or for gaming. So when you enable that, that allows for the lowest level of latency and for essentially the reduction of any type of out of sync type of issues that can sometimes crop up with Bluetooth, right? They also do support, of course, active noise canceling, and there are different modes that you can go ahead and set for the aggressiveness for the noise canceling. All right, we have our 10 millimeter drivers, which are quite nice. 10 millimeter drivers help to just open things up a little bit, give a little bit more dynamic balance. And actually, I've been pleasantly surprised by the overall audio quality here. Of course, the larger the drivers, like if you were to compare this to a traditional headphone where you got 50 millimeter drivers, there's a little bit of difference because over ears, they channel the volume a little bit differently in the overall audio experience as opposed to something that's on the inside, right, in the inside of your canal. And so really there, 10 millimeters is, I think, a really good sweet spot in terms of giving you a nice balance in terms of bass against mid-range and the overall treble detail. So very good battery life right there, up to 27 hours, right? And that's with the noise canceling. The other cool thing is that you also do have fast charging support. So that's going to be a really big benefit, right? 1.5 hours available to you with only 10 minutes in terms of the quick charging support. And there you can see also IPX4 rated. So again, even if you're kind of taking this out, maybe when it's a little bit of sprinkle, or again, maybe you're using them at the gym or something like that, you don't have to worry about that. So you are going to be good to go there too. All right. And then basic quick touch controls available to you too, so that if you don't want to have to use within the app, then you can go ahead and benefit from touch controls, right? Although, of course, if you can reduce touching things, especially when it's colder out, I think that's always a big benefit. So sometimes maybe using voice commands might be a little bit better in that regard too, right? But that's entirely, of course, your preference, right? And so let me go ahead and just head over to the product page really quick right there, and let me confirm on the pricing right here for these. I think these should be the same exact price. The black ones, yep, same price. So it should be essentially $100, $99.99, or $130 Canadian for our friends up north, because these also are going to be available in Canada right there. So again, either in white or in black, you can get them in both. And there's a cool little video right there that'll kind of go through all the features and functions if you're interested in checking them out. And again, if you're looking for an alternative, if you want a wired version, then we also, like I said, have the ROG Cetra wired version. And then we will actually also be coming out with the ROG Cetra True Wireless Pro, which will be it will be the world's first wired and wireless based version, and it will have a specialized customized detachable cable design, and we'll be talking about those more probably in the beginning of next year. So we'll even have another update to this product line as well with the ROG Cetra True Wireless being the current focus, but then like I said, we'll have the ROG Cetra True Wireless Pro coming out in the not too distant future as well. And there is also an iOS and an Android app, so available for either one of your smartphones, where you can go ahead and then make customizations. So if you want to have a full multi-band equalizer, you want to enable things like virtual surround, which can sometimes be cool for certain games. I actually like enabling the virtual surround option for things like asphalt racing. I've been trying that out, or maybe some Diablo or things along those lines. There's also specialized optimized sound presets, and you can go ahead and make other adjustments right there, get feedback in terms of your battery information and other things along those lines. Also going to be there for firmware updates if we make any enhancements to it or anything like that. All right. Somebody very excited there about the ROG Strix in white. Yes, going to be coming in the not too distant future, and I know a lot of people are going to be super actually excited about that, right? Very, very cool right there. Hey, Connor, thanks again for the feedback. The Cetra True Wireless have been fantastic. I use them daily at work. The noise canceling is really nice, especially on a plane. Thanks for that thumbs up. There you go. Connor is actually a fantastic member of our PCDIY community. It's always great to actually have people in our group, because you guys, I really try to be, I think, non-biased. Of course, I work for ASUS, and I really do try to give my genuine thoughts on where you guys should be spending your money, and hopefully you can feel comfortable and confident with the insight and recommendations that I make. But it's great to be able to have our community members also reaffirm to you the experience that they're getting. So really cool. You can see right there, especially somebody using them on a daily basis. I think you don't use something on a daily basis unless you're really, really happy with it. So pretty sweet right there. Looks like we also got some love right there. Yeah, ROG Claymore 2. That's the keyboard right here that I'm using right here, the ROG Claymore 2, and it's actually on sale. I'll be talking about it in our promos right there. So if you want to pick up an awesome keyboard, love these RX switches, then maybe check out the ROG Claymore 2. All right, very, very cool. Somebody's asking about the ROG Swift PG27AQDM. Yeah, so we'll actually be talking more about the heatsink design. It does actually have a customized heatsink design for enhanced thermal management, and that's to be able to help to ensure, I think, impressive brightness performance, right, in terms of the nits. It also helps to maximize the lifespan. So we are continuing to pay attention to this, just like we paid attention to it on the larger format 42 and the 48 inch, but we don't have all the details disclosed at this time. We'll be disclosing all those details as we get closer, and actually at CES. So just make sure to keep it tuned for CES. Okay. All right, next up, let's go into another product update that we've got right here. And this is going to be for a cool little new kind of non-traditional monitor, right? So most of the monitors we tend to cover usually are in our gaming side, but I do cover some of our other monitors, including our ProArt series, our TUF gaming series, right? And then our traditional ASUS series of displays. And this is under our BE series. So the BE series is actually our business series, but you can entirely use this just for every day. Just because it says business doesn't mean that you couldn't take advantage of it right there. So let me go ahead and put this right here. Give me 1 second right here. All right, and so the big thing, actually, let me modify this quickly. Give me 1 second right here. I'm gonna modify this because I think it's actually pretty important right there for clarity that I'm gonna put this as a touch monitor. So the big thing about this is that on base specs, you'd be like, oh, hey, it's 24 inches, full HD monitor, right? What's so special, right? Well, the big thing about it is the actual 10-point touch. We actually already had a prior generation actually touch display, but it's pretty uncommon to find actually traditional monitors for normal desktop use that are touch. Most times you find touch, of course, within your phone, within your tablet, within some laptops, of course, and we have many that offer that. And we even have portable displays that also offer touch, but generally it's not that common within traditional desktop-based displays. And so here we have a modern updated IPS-based display that features full 10-point touch, which is actually quite cool, but also adds in some cool additional level of functionality. So you have USB-C with up to 80-watt power delivery. So again, if you want to maybe connect this to something like one of our laptops or any laptop, then you have that integrated kind of experience of being able to carry the display signal along with power, again, up to 80 watts. Many of the laptops on the market that are generally going to be using USB-C power, usually 65 watts. So it helps to account for that. You also have traditional connectivity like HDMI and DisplayPort. There's also a USB hub. Now, another cool thing that's actually pretty cool here that is not supported on many monitors is going to be display port chaining. And so that means you could actually connect one display to another display to another display. You don't actually have to go back to the system. This is actually pretty cool. So if you wanted to run like multiple monitors in series, you could actually do that. And you have full 4-way ergonomic adjustment support as well. And so actually, I really love using touch, especially for images where you can kind of pinch in on images, you can open up images, you can swipe through, you can actually scroll just like you do on your phone. Actually, I find it quite nice even on a desktop environment. I've always been a big fan of it, especially like on our all-in-one series systems, which tend to have touchscreen enabled monitors. It's actually quite cool. So I really actually like this type of flexibility. You'll see right there, its price point is $350. So again, if you're looking for maybe a monitor, maybe to share with the family household, maybe having some flexibility of, like I said, a general purpose display. Again, it's maybe not your primary display, then this could be a really cool option. And this is the really cool interface right here. Again, having that USB-C gives you that flexibility of being able to, like I said, connect that to a device and with one single cable be able to power it and then be able to also output the display. This also works really well for being integrated with things like our mini PC systems. So with our mini PC systems, these are items that you could mount directly to the back of the monitor like you see right here, and you could have a full high performance system but in a very clean and compact design. And keep in mind, with our latest generation mini PCs, we have mini PCs that are using Ryzen 5000H, which is laptop class, right? Up to 16 threads, supports, high performance memory, PCI Express Gen 4, Wi-Fi 6, even 2.5 gigabit networking. We also even have the latest generation Intel based units, which even feature 12th generation series processors, DDR5, PCI Express Gen 4, Thunderbolt connectivity. So you really don't compromise. You can get almost really laptop class performance in one of these mini PCs on the back of the unit and be good to go. So pretty cool in that regard. So that is going to be the BE24ECSBT. So not the friendliest name right there, but a very, very feature rich monitor. Okay, so pretty cool. Let me just see right here. So Terry's asking, is it speaking on monitors? What's your opinion on competitors' monitor that they have in terms of that? So that's interesting. I think, some of the other competitors have maybe targeted sometimes maybe some different form factors that we're not necessarily evaluating. Our focus has really been, I think, on trying to, we really for the longest time have kind of been the leader within gaming displays for years. I mean, we're the first to release so many different types of monitors to the market, especially in the high refresh rate category, and really have a commitment to a lot of specialized technologies. At the same time, we haven't necessarily gone super aggressive on maybe like weird or curved type displays. And I think that's because we generally find that these are a little bit more in the niche segmentation of the market and they don't have as much demand. There's also quite a bit more variability and challenges at making sure that you get a more consistent experience with the display, which is very important to us. So I think for some of those, we're a little bit kind of more tepid, and we rather kind of focus on having monitors that we know that have a very strong level of adoption amongst the kind of community. That being said, we've had a lot of people that actually really wish that we would come out with an updated version of the ROG Swift 35-inch curved ultra-wide that we had, which was a HDR 1000 G-Sync Ultimate space display. And that is something that we actually are evaluating. We do have actually a prototype in development to follow up on that monitor. So you'll see more about that in the not too distant future. So make sure to just keep it tuned again in terms of that kind of target, I'd say dimension and resolution and kind of HDR level performance. But there's a lot of exciting tech. I think, ASUS has shown that definitely our commitment to be able to offer class leading features, functions, and specs, especially within monitors, is almost a match. So definitely rest assured, we're working on stuff. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and just see. So Play was asking, can we get a price and release date? As I already noted a little bit earlier, I gave already all the details that we can, no other details, including price and release date, but we'll have more information on CES. So make sure to keep it tuned for CES, where we'll probably have all the full launch information regarding the ROG Swift 27 OLED, right? Specifically the PG27 AQDM. Okay. All right. Let me just go and see any other quick questions right there. So I'll look into the Cetra Wireless. I have an ROG Throne with Qi, but no Qi devices. Yeah, so, well, if you don't have a phone that has wireless, yeah, you're 100% right. So what he's talking about is he actually has this guy right here. One of the cool features about the ROG Throne, we have two versions, the Qi and the non-Qi version, is this little base right here does support wireless charging. So you could actually put your mouse on it to charge if you wanted to, right? So you could put it like that. Or you could also actually go ahead and put your Cetra Wireless. So that's actually a place where you could actually also charge your headphones, right? So it's kind of cool. All right, so that's kind of interesting, right? Charge both headphones. Your headphones for on the go, and then you've got your headphones that you're going to store there for, I guess, when you sit down and when you game, right? So you can have it kind of both ways, right? All right, next up, let's go ahead and take a look at one of our new additions right here in terms of our networking line. So this is going to be right here, the ROG RAPTURE GT6. So this is actually the latest update to the Rapture series. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Rapture series is essentially our flagship gaming series of routers, right? So technically, of course, you can do gaming on any router. What differentiates kind of our gaming routers, quote unquote, compared to our traditional routers is that we spend additional design effort on not only the ID design, but of course on a firmware function. So we have specialized firmware functions which are specifically targeted towards gamers. So we'll have specialized options for things like a gamer-centric VPN or prioritization, special quality and enhancement service options. We then also have Open NAT protocol that's specifically designed for console users. We'll have a dedicated gaming port. The gaming port essentially means that you don't have to prioritize anything physically. When you connect the cable just to the gaming port, it will automatically prioritize whatever device is connected to that. That's great for people, especially with a fixed system like a console or a desktop that they want to leverage it with, right? But the GT6 is very interesting because the big thing about the GT6 is that these are going to be a mesh node. So all of the ASUS routers that we've produced under Wi-Fi 6 have already supported AI mesh. What that means is you could take any pre-existing ASUS router and pair it with another to be able to make your own mesh network. Some people think of mesh networks is that they have to come bundled, but that's not true. Essentially, like I said, all of our ASUS routers already support the ability to be mesh. We've spent considerable time and effort on the hardware and the firmware side to be able to allow users to have that level of flexibility. But if you want a streamlined out-of-box experience, then this is great because you get two matched units that are designed for an ultra large level of coverage. Now, traditionally, if you talk about performance, one single high performance router is actually generally going to be potentially faster than a mesh based product. The reason being is that mesh units, if we were to draw some lines on how these connect, they actually use something that's called a backhaul. So if you have, let's say, a dual band or you have a tri-band, this is a tri-band based product. So that means you have three bands. That means one of these bands, so if you have three bands, one of those bands is going to connect those two units together. And so that means you have two bands that are going to be available. So in examples, if you had a 2.4 gigahertz, a 5 gigahertz, and then another 5 gigahertz band, one of those bands would be lost because it's going to be used to talk to the two routers together. And a traditional, let's say, high performance router that has a very high performance antenna design that could cover even two-story house. Take, for instance, here, I'm in a home that's 2,600 square feet. I can cover the entirety of the whole house with one router. I don't need a mesh networking product. So it's not accurate to think that you have to have mesh just to have broad coverage. But where mesh really helps is going into really, really big homes or in what are called last mile scenarios. So maybe if you're starting to go out into maybe the last room in the house, or maybe you're going out into the backyard or into the patio or into another space, or maybe you have ultra dense environments, then that's where mesh can be. Even though you actually are losing one of those bands, which could sacrifice a little bit of speed, the overall signal coverage is improved and the actual speed is actually brought up, right? So that is really kind of the main benefit that you have within mesh. This is a tri-band based unit, so ideally the great thing is here you still maintain two high performance bands that are available to you for speed, and one band will then connect these two. You can also connect these with a what's called wired backhaul. So if in your home you had, let's say, Ethernet going from one floor to another floor, and that's how you want to run the connection from one unit to another unit, that would be ideal because then you could keep all three bands active, which would even allow for a higher level of performance. And that would be what I ideally recommend. If you want to also get really interesting, you could use something like our Mocha adapter. So that allows you to use coax in your home, and you could actually run coax to coax, 2.5 Ethernet then with the adapter. And doing that, you could then also still maintain a wired backhaul and keep all 3 bands available. Okay, but overall here, very, very cool design. We will offer this in both black and white, so you can pretty much cover either kind of ecosystem in terms of the overall look and feel, have it look really cool. You do have this really, really nice RGB lighting design, which is present in the unit, so that can also be customized. Again, this is a Wi-Fi 6 based product. Very, very high performance in terms of its overall feature set, right? You can go into kind of all the kind of specifics regarding the actual throughput and the feature set, right? But you can see right here kind of how you could position or kind of set up a mesh networking based product, right? We also have a specialized smart antenna design, which actually automatically analyzes the RF environment, and then based on the signal and the location and the direction, it will optimally essentially make an adjustment to that backhaul to maximize the overall performance, right? So you're all good in that regard. These are some of the gamer-centric functions that I talked about, right? Such as like the game device optimization with the gaming port, the packet priority optimization, which can be for either mobile devices or desktop devices or console devices, and then the GPN, which is a gamer's kind of private network, which is optimization that we have for how actual routing happens through the internet, right? The other cool thing here is that there's no kind of large antennas. It's all through a specialized optimized fixed internal antenna design, which has been really designed for a broad level of coverage. You can see up to 5,800 square feet, right? Very, very high performance. You can see all the work there internally in terms of what we have to do there to optimize this. This is actually quite challenging. It's one of the biggest things that takes time and effort into the overall design and development. There's actually also, you wouldn't think about it, but there's actually a lot of also thermal management because people tend to leave their routers on for a very long period of time. This unit also uses an advanced quad core based SoC, high performance DDR memory that's in there. And so when you actually have all of this running and it's under load, you actually do need to carefully assess not only interference, but thermal balance. And that has to be done through a lot of careful kind of design work right there. So you don't normally think about maybe heat sinks in a router and stuff like that, but we do have them in there. This is also really well designed for the next generation of ISP service. So if right now maybe you're only running like 1 gigabit, but maybe you're going to upgrade later to like 2.5 gigabit Ethernet for your ISP service, you already support 2.5 gig. So you have 2.5 gig on the WAN, then you've got still additional LAN ports with 1 gig, and then you also have a USB port for high speed. So if you wanted to attach like an external drive there to have like your own internal kind of storage for your network, you could do that. So attach something like, 4 8 terabyte hard drive, and you could have some nice local high speed storage that you could share amongst your devices. I like to set up things like drivers, quick access files, things along like that, that you can kind of take advantage of. And you also have LAN aggregation on there available to you as well. All right, so that is going to be the ROG Rapture. Again, it will be available in white, and it will be available in black, and it will be coming in at $599 is its MSRP price point. Okay, so let's go ahead and quickly check out this little video right here on the ROG Rapture GT6. I really like the ID design. I think it looks really clean, really cool. I really like the RGB lighting, the little bit kind of the pixel animated graphics design that we have on there. And again, though, if you already have something like an an RT AX82U, an 86X, an 88X, or any of our other gaming products, you can already pair another one together with AI mesh. So you don't have to go to this if you want mesh, but this is already essentially a preset inbox experience that if you want something that looks cool, it's going to be really high performance, and you want mesh, then you can go with this product, right? So that is going to be the ROG Rapture GT6, and again, pricing, yeah, $599.99, so essentially $600, and then 800 Canadian. So 600 in the US, 800 Canadian. You should see launch availability in Amazon, Newegg, Micro Center, B&H, as well as our ASUS e-store will have it available as well. Okay. I would love these, but the ET12 is calling me because of Wi-Fi 6E. Yeah, don't worry about that. We've got tons of Wi-Fi 6E products. So if you're a big fan of Wi-Fi 6E, then definitely, yeah, we've got ROG Rapture routers that also have Wi-Fi 6E. So we have the AXE 11000. We also have the GT AX 16000. We have the also the new AX 11000 Pro, which also has a special wideband support there also. And then we also have the RT AXE 7800, which is a new tri-band Wi-Fi 6E. So a lot of different options if you want Wi-Fi 6E. No worries, David. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good weekend, man. Somebody's asking, does ASUS have an updated version of the invisible bezel? Oh, so yeah, the ROG bezel kit, right? No, yeah, so the biggest that we designed it for was 27 inches. We've had people that are really asking about that, so I don't know. I'm getting enough people to ask that, you know, maybe we can push our headquarters team at looking if we want to design a 32-inch version. But as of right now, no. The largest that we produce right now is one that's designed for 27 inches because, again, that was the most common size on the market. You know, I'm seeing enough kind of questions from people that, you know, maybe it's something that, you know, we'll talk to our team about and see if we can maybe come out with a 32-inch version. Okay, very, very cool. Vitor goes, knowing no power supply solution. So we actually do have a couple. We're actually a little bit more focused on Mocha. Powerline has a little bit more of kind of variability in terms of its overall performance and consistency of, I think, performance, right? You know, I think that with most people, right, they're generally right now they either kind of want to go with kind of a focus on, they want to go with a focus either on kind of a wired experience or a wireless experience, right? And Powerline is interesting, but it is a little bit kind of a more kind of complicated scenario in terms of kind of, I think it's more consistent performance. I think the Mocha solution, I think, is a better option, right? But if you do want to go with Powerline, we do actually have this right here. So this is the ASUS Zen Wi-Fi AX Hybrid. So you still actually have full support for Wi-Fi 6, and this actually uses the home plug standard, so home plug AV2, which is Powerline specification. So similar in terms of giving you very, very broad coverage, right? So up to 5,500 square feet, right? It's going to have a little bit of a lower kind of performance spec envelope compared to the Rapture. The Rapture will have even a little bit of a higher performing chipset in terms of the CPU into the DRAM configuration, and also in terms of the wired connection options, but still have, you know, advanced monitoring, management, security protocol, very easy streamlined setup all through the ASUS router app. So if you're maybe looking through for something with home plug and you're still looking for Wi-Fi 6 broad level coverage, then this might be an option that you want to take a look at here. So again, we do pretty much have, I think, now a really, really good comprehensive lineup, right, in terms of options. So everything from that home plug to, we got Mocha, right, if you want to go coax. If you want to go traditional wired, then you go wired. If you want to go pure wireless, you can go pure wireless. So kind of whatever you want to go right there. Hey, Martin. Yeah, I already talked about that model a little bit earlier. I think it was the first thing I talked about, the Z790 TUF DDR5 variant. So that'll be launching later, probably at the very end of this month. We may see it available at Newegg, but you probably won't see it until, I think, the beginning of next month. Maybe might pop up a little bit earlier than that on the ASUS store. But yes, it is going to be launching, and I noted the MSRP pricing for that one is $300. Okay. All right. Okay, so next, let's go and let's round it out with our last new update here. And it's not new because we've definitely talked about it before, right? But now I finally, you know, can say that it's finally here. I'm very excited to finally say that we're launching it. And that is going to be with the TUF Gaming GT502. So let's go ahead and add that one in there. So this is going to be for the TUF Gaming GT502. This is with our, of course, split chamber chassis design. Really, really cool. You can actually check out a really great build video from Mr. Matt Lee over there from the UK. He did a fantastic build recently in it with TUF Gaming hardware. It looks great and shows you, I think, kind of the layout and the design elements right there. Some of the really cool things that you might not immediately notice is that we do actually have straps. You might think that kind of the straps don't necessarily kind of add any value, but I can tell you that anybody that has used the straps on the GT501 really appreciate it, right? They give you the ability to actually lift the chassis, and it just makes it much easier, especially to kind of move around. So that's a really nice design element that we have right there. You can again see that we have it available in white, and then we also have it available in black. I also tell you another cool design element that we did. I believe we're the only white chassis manufacturer to even make the internal cable white. So most other times, generally that internal cable is going to be black. We made the internal cable white on the GT502. So that's going to be a cool kind of attention to detail. You've got nice I/O right there with USB 3, traditional Type A and USB Type C. available connectivity. Now here, when we're taking a look through the chassis, you can see that you've got a lot of room to be able to play around with it. You can integrate things like a distro plate. You can go with traditional horizontal base mounting for the graphics card, or you can also go with vertical base mounting. And we actually do include the actual vertical cable. So that's something that you don't actually have to have an additional expense on. So that's a nice little value add that will actually come included with the GT502. You can see another kind of design difference right there is in the back, where we actually give you more flexibility for radiator mounting than you would have, let's say, in many other dual chamber chassis designs that are going to be on there. The other really cool thing is actually going to be on the top of this chassis. The top of the chassis actually has a really easy lift off design, so you can actually pull that off and be able to access it, which really allows for a nice degree of kind of flexibility and functionality. So we can kind of go right here a little bit through there, and you can run fans right down here on the bottom, of course here and here on the top, and then of course on the rear. Nice, tons of cable cutout space. Really nice, really accessible chassis in terms of its overall room and its flexibility. A lot of room there if you also want to be able to store supplemental storage, if you want to go that route there. And here's where I'm talking about. Take a look at the cabling, right? So you see that cabling right there? That's all white. I don't think any other manufacturer has spent that attention to detail to actually make right here these cables all white on a white chassis. Pretty much I think every other chassis I've seen, those cables have all been black, and so we still actually went back and revised that to do white. So you can imagine, right, pairing this something with like an ROG Strix 4080 in white, right, and then you take, you know, maybe a Maximus Apex board in white, or maybe a Maximus Formula board in white, or an ROG Strix board in white, right? The ROG Ryu in white would be cool, or the ROG Strix LC in white, right? And you could start to really have an awesome white ecosystem. Although I'm a really big fan of Panda builds, which is black and white. I like the contrast between sometimes some components being in black and then some components being in white. I actually sometimes like going white chassis and then still going with all black components, because the white chassis will help to bounce some of that RGB lighting. So it can actually be really cool to actually have the chassis be white, but all the internal stuff still be black. So in that regard, you could still go TUF gaming on the inside, right, in black, and then on the outside, you could have it be that. And keep in mind, we also are going to be coming out with our TUF Gaming ARGB fans, which will be in white, and those will be coming out, I think, hopefully next month. We have the TUF Gaming fans in white, in black right now, but not the white ones. But the white ones should be coming in the not too distant future. And you've got nice amount of room right down here at the bottom for, of course, just inlet and overall quote unquote breathability, right? So you don't have to worry about that in that regard, right? So price difference between the white and the black, actually this is going to be a little bit different. I'll tell you on the pricing right here. I think it's only about like a $10 difference, but just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that right there. So again, you can see radiator in the rear chamber right here, fans in the rear if you wanted to go right there, radiator at the top, radiator at the side, and then you can see tons of fans, right? Pretty much where you can go fan here, fans there, fans there, fans there. And then in the rear, you can also see all that flexibility, right? And here you also have the optional storage, where you can also go ahead with storage devices if you wanted to. And this vertical card mount, that comes in there. And you also will get the vertical, riser cable. So I believe the riser cable will come already included inside the box for the North American model, right? Right here, we also are using what are called integrated stops or rests. So essentially, when you eject that and you pop up the panel, you don't have to worry about the panel falling off. The panel will stay in place. That's actually something that we were one of the first to introduce with the GT501, and it was one of my favorite features that just made it overall really clean, really easy to work with, and really nice in terms of the overall experience, right? There's the woven handles, right? Really nice in terms of just being able to give you that flexibility. And you can also see how easy it is to actually disassemble this whole thing too. So if you're somebody that wants to do some modding, it's also quite friendly, I think, for the modders out there that want to be able to kind of tweak and tune it and be able to customize it, right, and take it to the next level. All right, so that is going to be the GT502, guys. And let me double check here on the pricing. GT502. So it'll be $175 in white, and then it will be $170 in black. Okay. So ASUS Computers is giving us a wonderful, pretty cool Lord Razzle Dazzle. I'm liking that name. I agree. Attention to those little details sets cases apart from others. Very, very cool. Raphael's also giving us a nice clean build. Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool build that we actually have featured right there. So overall, pretty cool. The white cable is a great addition, and Vitor is giving me a little heart's eyes right there. Very, very cool. This Facebook user right there says, love the straps on my Helios. I agree. Any user that's used those straps really likes it. Zoom in. Actually, yeah, I think he was so excited when the GT502 got announced. He imported it. I don't know if he imported it from China, from Taiwan, from APAC, where he imported it, but it already got released in another part of the world. So he was so excited about it when it initially got teased to him. He surprised me. He was like, "Man, you got it before I got to see the final sample." So yeah, there you go. He's already got a build up and running there with the GT502, and he likes it. All right. So he imported it from Taiwan. So yeah, he was able to get it right off the bat. Let me see right here. What's the question here? I'm trying to install a PCI Gen 2 by 4 capture card, but the Strix 4090 is blocking the by 4 slot in my Z790 Extreme. Using the second slot halves the GPU, which would be normal. It halves it to by 8. Can I use both without compromise? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if the GPU runs it by 8, that's still PCI Express by 8 Gen 4, there's effectively no performance difference. We've done a lot of internal testing in this regard. The performance delta usually is going to be between, let's say, by 16 to by 8 is almost within margin of error. Essentially, it's only a few frames. You effectively, even with a 4080 or with a 4090 graphics card, you don't notice any performance difference. In some very small edge cases, you could maybe be a little bit, a few frames if you're running ultra high frame rate, but this is really only going to be for people that are running like the 360 hertz type monitors, or maybe like in our next generation 500 hertz monitors, where you could argue that there would be some potential value. But even then, again, in our testing analysis, there's no effective difference. So if you're running by 8, it's effectively the same exact experience as running by 16. So you shouldn't be concerned at all by having that be halved and be running it at by 8. Okay. Miguel goes, I don't see it yet on the ASUS story. No, so we just MPI'd it, which means essentially we've introduced it to the channel. So I would expect availability to be popping up hopefully before the end of the month. So the ASUS store probably will be the first one to have it. Newegg hopefully will be not too distant. I'm hoping that we probably will have it online before the end of the month, so before we get into January. But if not, you'll definitely start to see broader rollout and availability as we definitely get into January. But it should be available, like I said, hopefully before the end of the month. Okay. Daniel says, I'd like to see more competition from ASUS in the full tower scene. So full towers, it's quite a bit more niche of a market. I mean, definitely though, we do contribute to that because we have the biggest share of high performance components in the market with boards like our Extreme series and stuff like that. So you can definitely understand that. I think you'll probably be excited maybe by the GR701. The GR701 is a larger chassis. Yeah, make sure to just go ahead and check it out. It's going to be pretty cool. It's, like I said, it's a little bit bigger than the Helios, and the Helios was already pretty big. It's not considered a full tower, right? But I think it's kind of a great intermediate option at going even a little bit bigger than what we had with the Helios, but also still functions on a really nice usable level of space. Once you get into some of those really ultra large chassis, one of the big challenges is actually what you're going to do with all that space. And the reality is, do you really need all that space? Sometimes some of it gets excessive in terms of how people will run in kind of dual loops and configurations that don't really need it, and it's almost more for the visual layout, which can definitely understand. I mean, it's PCDIY after all, right? But I think in the GR701, we've hit an amazing balance that giving you even more space, really good usability, a really cool and unique ID design, which will differentiate it again, like we differentiated a lot of our other products, right? With, like I said, the Helios as an example, or the Z11 as an example. So you'll be seeing that in the not too distant future. We should hopefully be launching the GR701. I think it formally launches at CES. So yeah, you'll probably see that in the not too distant future. Okay. See, is ASUS collabing with Lanley again on their upcoming? Yeah, we're going to continue to collaborate with many partners. So even though we are doing our own thing, rest assured we're going to continue very tight partnerships with many of the partners that we currently have in the industry. Let me go see it. Any news on the I've actually talked about this before, so no updates in this regard. So when there's an update to give on that next generation mini LED that is going to be targeted at kind of a lower price point, but a little bit more of kind of a volume, then we will definitely make an announcement on it. So again, that'll be coming later, you know, probably in Q1 timeframe. You'll probably see an update in that regard. We have done a price drop on the current PG32UQX. So that's actually taken a pretty big price drop compared to what it was originally at. So if somebody is looking really for an ultra high performance mini LED based display, that is still really the best option on the market. There is not a better monitor when it comes to true mini LED gaming performance than the PG32UQX. The PG32UQXE was designed at really kind of trying to offer that HDR 1000 mini LED full array local dimming level of performance, right? But at a much lower price point, right? You know, the original target was to be at or around in that $1,000 price point. But at the same time too, we've also been designing, developing other panels that we've been working on. And so it just comes down to a timing factor and some other things to kind of keep in mind. But again, when there's an update to give in that regard, like I said, we'll have one. But right now, nothing in relation to that display. So make sure to keep it tuned there. All right. Aerox, no other details that I can give you in that regard. So you're just going to have to make sure to keep it tuned to CES, where we'll go into all the details regarding the PG27AQ, the AQDM. Okay. All right, so I think that takes care of pretty much all of the new products that we have, guys. So we're going to get ready to go into the PCDIY Builder Spotlight in here. I don't know how many I can fit in, but hopefully we're going to be able to squeeze in some awesome PC builds that you guys have contributed from the community. Again, if you guys want to be able to submit your system for a feature in the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, then you guys can join our PCDIY group. It's linked in the description, and you guys can go ahead and submit your system for a feature on the PCDIY Builder Spotlight here on the PCDIY stream. I'll go ahead and answer one more question right there. You go ahead and see right here. What are the limitations of moving your Windows system SSD to a new computer from a Gen 4 to Gen 13? So if I'm understanding this correct, you're saying you're taking a really old system. So you're talking about something like Sandy Bridge, Ivy Bridge era, and you're going all the way to 13th gen. I would tell you, hard stop, do not do that. One, you probably didn't even install your operating system in a what's called GPT compliant operating system, which means that this is the way that hardware gets initialized. For Windows 11 and modern systems, you ideally want to be in a GPT compliant installation. This helps to ensure that all the devices are addressed in a native UEFI based formatting. It helps ensure the fastest and most secure boot and post environment experience. The reality is, long story short, don't do it. I would back up your data and do a full, fresh, clean installation to be able to ensure the best stability, reliability, and performance. So I would not migrate my drive over in any way, shape, or form. I can tell you that a good percentage of users that even RMA systems RMA their systems because of issues with their operating system environment, and there tends to not be any hardware-based issues at all. So again, to be able to ensure the best experience, I wouldn't do it. I would strongly recommend that you do a full clean install to be able to, again, have the best experience when it comes stability, reliability, and overall, critically, even performance. Even if you can make it work sometimes, just because you'll have varying different things that are happening on the kind of the kernel level of the operating system, you can sometimes be losing performance. So I would, like I said, to be able to get the best experience, just do a clean install. Okay. All right. Okay, guys, let's go ahead. Let me see what I have here for the PCDIY Builder Spotlight. And again, if anybody has any other questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in there. I'll do my best to go ahead and get to them when I can. All right. I don't even know where to start, man. We've got so many submissions, and I missed already last week's, and then even before that, I think in the prior one, I didn't have much time to cover. So we're gonna have, definitely in the future, we'll have some crazy number of PCDIY Builder spots that we're gonna have to get into, and then I have to see whether or not we'll maybe do like an end of the year wrap up or something like that, you know, and maybe try to pick some of the best, which is such a challenge because there's been literally so many amazing builds this year, as there is every year. All right, to kick off the stream, PCDIY Builder Spotlight, let's go ahead and take a look at the one, the only, the AK mod, man. Seriously, this is like snuff, right? You can't miss. Literally, when AK Mod does something, it's just how clean, how polished, how good looking is it going to be, because it's always fantastic. It's always outstanding. So he always brings it. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and see what we got going here from AK Mod. This one is the Antec Cannon. All right, let's see what we got going on here. All right, very, very cool. So right off the bat, already digging the color scheme. Color scheme is on point. I'm loving a kind of this little bit of this gunmetal kind of gray, and then we've got a little bit of that lighter silver and kind of a white base accent that we've got with the ROG Strix. You can tell this is our latest generation ID design in the series of the motherboards right here with the Z790 series, right? Really, really nice looking. And then of course with this chassis, you have some really cool orientation in terms of how the way things are isolated. So in this type of design, you actually have the motherboard right there, some really cool, of course, bends right there. Loving the kind of the chrome accents right there with the hard tubing, and then even a little bit of the color play that you're going to have here with bringing out the details. You got that, of course, lighter color there in the cabling, right, kind of that gray or white, and then you've got that darker kind of gunmetal kind of going right on over here, and then you've got the GPU, right? So very, very cool, non-traditional layout, but that favors, of course, this chassis type of design. It's what it's really meant for. Looks really, really, really cool, right? So we can also see right there, we've got Antec's memory right there, their DDR5 memory. So they've been kind of increasing the different types of AUTOC offerings that they have outside of their traditional, of course, chassis, coolers, and fans to now also expand into offering memory. I think this memory looks fantastic. I really love this kind of little clean, diffused line aesthetic. I think it looks really, really nice. So very, very cool. Love this new ID design that we have here on the ROG Strix. It's actually something our ID team worked really, really hard on. Purposely is to implement what we call different textural elements. So we don't actually just use the same material. And I think we've continued to really innovate in this regard. Other companies, I think, follow our design trends a lot of the time. And this is actually something that we've taken from the industry as a whole to look at different types of materials and translucents and textile finishes, right? And so this is even where in prior generations where we've added things like small fabric attachments to the PCB, right, or the heatsink to give it a little bit of a different vibe. This is just another level of how we're doing that, right? And so builds that I think play on these kind of color schemes and these textures are some of my favorite. And as always, right, the fit, the finish, and the polish and the photography is fantastic, as we would expect from AK Mod. Always really, really top notch, really some of the actual best in the industry, right, when you talk about modders and builders. Really, really cool. This kind of this orientation as a whole is in itself kind of very interesting, right? Because it's different from the traditional aspect ratio that we're adjusting to, and the orientation that we're adjusted to, where normally the motherboard would of course be vertical, and here it's actually in this horizontal format, which is kind of cool, kind of interesting in itself, where it's a little bit different, right? And then on the back, I love this kind of dual design right there. So there's the motherboard, and then there's all the cooling, right? And these fans are really, really cool. And I can tell you guys, I got to see the ROG RGB fans that we're working on. They're awesome. You guys are going to really like them. Wow, they're a long time away still, but I can tell you I got to see them, and they look awesome. They look very, very good. All right. It's just really, really clean, really, really nicely done. I love the way that it's laid out. It's very, very, very cool build. And I love that it's different than, of course, the norm right here, right? This whole design right here to be able to center weight the GPU too is also really, really cool to just kind of give a different vibe. And again, really, really nice, clean just runs to be able to bring it all together in there, right? I don't even know where to leave it, guys. I guess I maybe kind of go with, yeah, let's go with 2 right there. I think that looks pretty good right there. So let me go ahead and bring up the submission form. All right, so there we go, and let me bring up the submission form. Okay, right here. So yeah, this is going to be from AK Mod, right? And so, oh cool, there's actually a link here for a video, so we'll see if I can bring actually that up in a moment right here. So did the build have a theme? It was actually to keep the original appearance, and I think what he means by the original appearance is to not modify. As you guys know, AK Mod is not really just one of the best builders, but really, truly one of the best modders in the game, right? Where he brings in a level of kind of customization and detailing to the mod work, right? To really kind of take things, and sometimes times you don't even realize that it's been modded because it looks so great, right? But here I think the goal was to really just have a great looking build and respect the overall ID design of what was there within the chassis, right? So I think that's what he means by the theme, is to keep the original appearance, right? 3 words to describe the build is just simple and clean. And definitely this build really simple and clean, right? Although definitely a lot of work that went in there in terms of the actual hard tubing, right, in terms of the runs, right? So does the build have a name? Antec Canon. In terms of the core hardware, we are definitely looking at some of the fastest hardware we can get out there in the market right now. So this is a Core i9 13900K, ROG Strix C790-A. This is the DDR4 variant that he has installed right there. Then a 3080 base graphics card. Of course, it's also water cooled. The Antec Katana memory. So he's got that's 32 mega transfers in there. So let me see, 816. So 32 gigabytes of it. Then also running a couple of T-Force Cadre M.2 PCIe NVMe SSDs, then and an Antec HCG 1000 watt power supply. And then the fans that we see there on the rear, as well as the Antec Fusion 120 millimeter fans that they have on there, and then of course the chassis, which is the Antec Canon, right? And then pretty much all the water cooling hardware is all from Bits Power, so everything from the Summit M Silver Moon limited edition block, which looks fantastic, right? To the Mobius VGA water block, to the reservoir mount, right? And then all the fittings, and then even the PWM fan hub, that's all from Bits Power right there. Right, and so what aspect were they most proud of is just able to keep the clean and overall kind of original factory look in terms of the overall chassis. Anything they would change about the build? No. Took them about 2 days to build it. That's how you know you're a pro, right? 2 days to build that. Fantastic, right? And then it was originally just for an actual project for Antec officially. Right, a feature that they love is actually the ASUS Q latch. That's that great little feature that we have for our M.2 SSDs. Allows for that nice toolless, easy installation of M.2 SSDs. Overall, did a fantastic job there on the build. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring up this video right here. So give me a second, guys. If he has it right there. If not, if you guys have not, make sure to go ahead and check out AK Mod. So I'm going to go ahead and drop them in the chat right there. There you guys go. Dropped it there in the chat. Yeah, I love these systems. I would definitely agree. Fantastic, right? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our next build. Okay. So next up, let's see what we've got next in here. Let's go. So that one was a little bit on the darker side. Let's go with something on the brighter side. Yeah. Go something a little bit on the brighter side, and this is going to be from, I believe, May, and May is Vocaloid 01. Very interesting name. Okay, let's go ahead and check this one out here. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we've got going on right here. So we can definitely see they've got a whole setup here, definitely a keyboard fan, and a really cool kind of stylized. You can see anime fan, right? And that definitely ties into the look and feel for their system. So definitely bold and bright and colorful. Really, really liking kind of this teal and this pink color vibe that we've got in there with the white. It's a great kind of color gradient, right? These are 3 kind of complementary color schemes, but it's also got what's called color blocking, right? So you actually purposely have different colors, and each one of the colors themselves is a contrast point, right? Which just helps to elevate the look and feel of the other respecting color. So this is a great way to work with color theory, and it worked out really, really well. And I think overall, the balance is also done really, really nicely, where you don't have too much of any one color. This can be a little bit tricky when you actually are working with kind of color blocking vibe, is sometimes having too much of one color in one kind of one direction or kind of in one component, but I really like the way that this is actually balanced out. And so really nice job here also, because of course this is entirely custom. So the paint job that's been done right here, it actually looks really nice. I don't see any bubbling or anything like that. Looks quite clean. Maybe a little bit of bubbling right there just on the black, but overall quite good, quite clean. So I don't know if maybe they primed it beforehand and did it, but overall it's a really solid job in terms of the overall paint. So it's always one of the challenges you get. I know Justin, who has an amazing mod that we might build and take a look at today, did powder coating. And so the powder coating is really nice compared to paint because you don't have to worry about chipping or streaking or some of the other challenges that you have with paint. But most people tend to go with paint. But you can actually see right here, not a lot of overspray or anything like that too. Quite clean, quite well balanced actually throughout the chassis right there. It's really nicely done. I'm wondering if there's any, so that's one thing I might have done. I don't know what you guys think. Could you guys, I personally, with thin grates like these, I don't like to use just a screw by itself. I will always, even if the product that I'm using doesn't come with a washer, I will put a washer in. I prefer to use washers to balance out the weight distribution so I don't pinch in the grills. So what's your guys' thought? Do you guys use washers or not use washers? So let's see what the comments say right there. But overall, here we can see the build. Really clean. We've got an ROG Strix Space motherboard with, of course, an ROG Strix graphics card in white from the prior generation. So a 30 series there right there. Lian Li's cooler, really nice. And then, of course, custom fans been added in for the accent colors right there. These should be from TT. And then right there, even, of course, a nice little figurine to go ahead and round it out. Overall, really cool. Really nicely done right there. Let's go ahead and see if we got any... always look on the bright side of life, liking that. I like it, super cute. It's cute. Like the pink and teal combo. I definitely agree with Erica's feedback right there, right? So very cool, right? And then, yeah, we've got somebody, Jeer, saying washers all the way. Yeah, so fist bump right there. I definitely agree. Washers all the way, right? And there we go. Now we got it with the lighting scheme. So it's so cool to be able to see it. We switched from, of course, the no lighting to the lighting, right? And it's cool, both vibes. I really like it without the lighting, and it could be kind of cool to maybe just see what it would be with this, maybe like a white accent light, and then let those colors pop by itself. But then you go right here to the pink, and the pink still is really cool because it brings it just a coolly like little night vibe to it. So it's almost like maybe like daytime, nighttime vibes, right? So maybe that's the way kind of it breaks down. I like just a little bit of lighting right down there at the bottom right there, which is pretty cool. So overall, really nice. So fantastic build. And there we go. Alternate color scheme right there. So gave it to us. I think that's maybe a blue. I'm going to go with, I think it's blue that they picked. I don't know if it was blue or maybe a little bit purple. I think it's blue. They kind of went with blue or like a little bit of a teal. I think this one looks really good. This one you get to see a little bit more of the white vibes. Now, one of the cool things you can do with Armory Crate is you can do scenario profiles. So you could actually have the lighting scheme changed on the application. So if you opened up like your web browser, if you opened up a certain game, you could actually have it be in this color profile. And then if you opened up another game or another application, you could actually have it open up with a different color scheme. So you can actually have the color scheme change dynamically based on what you actually have running on your system. And that's actually a really cool feature in scenario profiles, if you don't know that you can do that within Armory Crate. So that is actually a really cool feature. So what do you guys think? Which one do you favor? The no lighting, the pink lighting, or the blue lighting? Which one does the community think? And these cables are really on point. Beautiful looking cables, really complement the overall look and feel there of the build. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it on, actually, let's go ahead and give it with one with a little bit lighting and non-lighting vibe, and we'll kind of go from there, right? PGPC's giving us a looks great. Looks even better with the lights. I love it with the little emojis right there, right? I bet this looks great with an audio synced profile. Yeah, I would definitely agree. Blue for me, and then Erica says pink lighting. Yeah, I don't know. I think I like a little bit of the warmness of the pink a little bit more than the blue, but I also really like it without actually the lights at all. So I think, but they all look great. So let's go ahead and see what we've got here from the submission form. Okay, so this is from May. You guys can definitely go ahead and check them out on Twitter. So this is May Baby Step on Twitter. Okay, And let's go ahead and see. So does the build have a theme? Of course, Hatsumi Miku, right, is the theme. So of course makes sense. 3 words to describe the build: colorful, pop, and cute. I would definitely agree. And if I had to add something on, really cleanly executed, right? Laid out wonderfully, really nice color theory, really nice balance, the fit, the finish, and polish. 2 thumbs up, really nice job. Vocaloid 01 is what we got there in terms of the name. In terms of the hardware, this is a beefy system. It's running a Ryzen 9 5900X on an ROG Strix B550-A motherboard with an ROG Strix 3090 White Edition based graphics card. We have 64 gigabytes of memory that's running in this system in there, and then an Lian Li O11, of course, Dynamic Mini Snow Edition, which was painted Tiffany blue. Actually, that makes sense. That is very close to Tiffany in terms of that color scheme right there. Although, of course, you got to be careful with that. I don't know if you can call it Tiffany blue because Tiffany does trademark their colors. So in addition to that, we have the, of course, AIO from Lian Li, and then also an 850 watt Lian Li power supply, Thermaltake TUF fans that are in there, turquoise, and then also have some ID cooling fans that are in there. So the turquoise fans are from Thermaltake, and then the pink fans are from ID Cooling, and then Omega cables is rounding out the actual cables that we have within the system. Total overall price point for this build was about $3,200. What aspect of the build are they most proud of is the top 360mm AIO with the ATX based motherboard, right? This and the reason why is actually, of course, some of you may or may not realize this. The case cannot be used with an ATX motherboard and a 360mm AIO on top, but I set it up by offsetting and fixing the radiator to prevent the interference with the RAM. So yeah, so that's a very cool little just adjustment there to be able to make it work. Is there anything that they would change about the build? Nope, not in particular, and I think it looks great, so I don't know that I would change anything. How long did it take to put together the system? Counting for the concept time to the build time, took them about 1 month in terms of the overall time. It's mainly used for playing games, things like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, League of Legends, PUBG, and Monster Hunter series. Favorite feature is Armory Crate. It's really useful, and love how I can easily control all the colors and monitor my system. Overall, May did a fantastic job. Very, very cool build. Gets a thumbs up. So PGPC says blue for me. So it looks like we had 2 votes for the blue, 2 votes for the pink. So comes out even. All right, guys. Pretty good on that side. All right, let's go ahead and keep moving this one along right here. So let's see. What do we got next? We've got quite a number of really cool builds. We just looked at a white one, so I don't know if I want to look at another white one because we've got another white one. But well, we definitely have more white ones. This one's very interesting. Let's go with this one right here. We're gonna look at Mary. I'm sorry. I'm not 100% Mr. REN. The Green Neon Ninja, I believe, is what we've got right here, guys. So let me go ahead and and bring this one up right here. Okay. All right. So here we guys go. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. And let me go ahead and bring up their submission form so I have it ready. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Oh, I almost don't even want to start there on that image. Okay, yeah, let's go start without the lighting. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we can see we've got a Helios here, the white edition Helios. So that's our ROG chassis. All right, so we've got an ROG Helios in here. We've got some already really interesting accents right here. We have, of course, some TMT, so some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rocking there on the inside, which is pretty cool. And then we have a very interesting setup right here with what looks to be like a res and then some fans. And then we can also see already some hardline tubing that's going on here, which is pretty interesting, pretty cool. Okay, a little bit of accent down here, looking like they're using some of their stickers, and we can already see an ROG Thor. All right, so this is already starting to be pretty cool, pretty interesting. In the back, of course, taking advantage of all that nice space that we've got, and the cover is there for the cable management. Really good to go. They've got the If anybody didn't notice, these right here, you can buy these. These are the ROG upsell wall panels. You can get them at IKEA. They are part of our collaboration that we did with IKEA. So if you want some cool panels that are ROG themed, you can pick those up at your IKEA. All right. And then here we go. This is a pretty cool. I like that right there. Cowabunga and Turtle Power, right? Yeah. I would definitely agree. So overall, we got our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in there. We've got that definitely neon green that we've got rocking it in there. We've got an ROG Crosshair board. This is actually one of our latest. This looks like an X670E base system that we have in there. A very interesting kind of horizontal tubing run that we've got right here in this setup. And also a really interesting look on terms of that block, right? And so there we can also see the graphics card. Overall, pretty cool, pretty interesting. I dig the kind of the hard contrast between the black, then the neon, and then you've got the white. And that's what I was talking about before, where I think sometimes that white can give you a really interesting kind of color play and contrast point, which is kind of cool, right? So definitely adds a different vibe to it, right? And then here we go. Now they added a little bit of that lighting. So again, we went from that kind of daytime to that nighttime vibe. And we can definitely see in the nighttime vibe, it kicks it up, right? And you can definitely see that you get a little bit more life there from the RGB lighting on the extreme board, where now we've got a little bit of accent lighting that we have there in the anime matrix section right there. And then we've got that bottom lighting there in the RGI. And then we've got some little lighting that we have going on right here within the reservoir. And then I think this is UV reactive, so I think that's what we're seeing right there in terms of that, because you can see the UV kind of color that we've got right here, and that vibes of kind of that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kind of vibe, which is kind of cool, right? So I'm feeling that, right? And so there we go, not as much extreme, and then extreme, right? And then they're cool. They're actually using the shrouds there from the graphics card and stuff like there. They're on the wall in the back, even though they've got their card now water blocked, so that's kind of cool. So I think actually when we go back out, we've got actually some other images. So there you go, even taking a little bit further with some of that neon color play that they've got going on right here. So pretty cool. That mask is trippy. That mask is definitely trippy. That's pretty wild. Overall, very, very cool. They added RGB lighting there on the front fans. I generally don't always like to go with RGB front fans on the Helios. I like to have the ID design there where you can see the pattern, but it's always cool to kind of see what people will do and kind of change this up and kind of tweak it. I think this back fan actually could have been kind of interesting though here. So I think maybe I could do something like a Fantex Halos fan. So maybe add like a frame to that and then keep the black there, and then maybe add a little bit of kind of weighted vibe, because I feel like you could maybe go with a little bit of green right here to tie this green in here to this green right there, right? So I think that could be kind of interesting if you maybe wanted to kind of have a little bit more symmetry on there, or add a little bit kind of contrast. But overall, very cool, dynamic, and fun build. Yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty fun, pretty interesting. I don't even know which ones to kind of keep right there. Actually, let me go with those two. I think those two actually. Maybe that one. I don't even know, guys. Let's go with. Yeah, we'll just go with that one for right now. I think that's okay. All right, transformed from the norm by the nuclear goop. I like that. VGPCs gives us a little bit of whoa. This is a really good one. With a build like that, I would go out of my way to place my pizza orders from it, right? I definitely think that'd be pretty cool, right? Let's see, we're here. Been years since I seen you, man. First I saw you in 77 days. Great to see you doing well. Man, thank you so much for joining us here on the stream. Happy to have you here, man. I appreciate it. So very, very cool to always be able to see great community members and fans that have been able to see me throughout the years when it comes to talking about ASUS hardware. So I definitely appreciate it. Let's go ahead and take a closer look right here at their PCDIY Builder Spotlight submission. So Mr. AN is what we've got there. You guys can actually check them out on YouTube. I'll see if I can share their link. So give me a moment right here. So the build have a theme. Yep, definitely. It's Ninja Turtles right there. 3 words to describe the build is green neon ninja. Does the build have a name? Is it Green Neon Ninja? And then in terms of the hardware, yeah, I was correct. So this is an X670E, so a Crosshair Extreme based motherboard. We then have a Ryzen 9 7950X, so pretty much about the fastest thing you can get in terms of AM5, right? And then a ASUS ROG 4090 Strix-based graphics card, water-cooled, an ASUS Thor 1000 watt base power supply, and then we've got some G-Skill Trident Z 6000 MT memory CL30, 32 gigabytes running in that system. So this system is definitely built for performance. I'm also rocking a Samsung Pro M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD in there. That's all inside of the ROG Helios. And then Corsair Hydro X series base water cooling hardware that we've got in there, along with 6 Corsair QL120 fans. Overall price budget for this build was about $5,000. What aspect were they most proud of the build? The unique way I installed the pump. I definitely would agree with that. It's non-traditional. Is there anything they would change about the build? The build to have an ROG Strix okay, so yeah, so they have a 3090 installed in there, but they're waiting for it to install for that 4090. Okay, so that's what they're looking to change right there. How long did it take together to put the system? About 3 weeks, because it was waiting for the 4090 Strix, right? So what is the system used for? I used my build for benchmarking and gaming and editing videos for my YouTube channel. It likes to play Call of Duty, Forza, Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, Valorant, and most of the games that are out there. So he's definitely a big gamer. Big fan of Asus ROG all the way. I love my Asus hardware, especially the motherboards. I own both Intel and AMD setups, both featuring Asus ROG Extreme motherboards. And he's actually a really big fan of Armor Crate. Loves it for kind of tweaking, tuning, monitoring his system, and how we can control his system, man. Fantastic job, man. Thanks for being such a big fan and supporter right there. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring up your link right there where you guys can go ahead and check out his channel. Oh, cool. He's actually got a little bit of looks like he's got a little bit of a video right here. So let me see if I can show a little bit of it. Yeah, okay. So let me go ahead and bring this up right here, guys. So here you guys can see he's got a little bit of a kind of setup video. You can actually see his system right there. It's definitely cool. You can definitely get the neon vibes as they're kind of going through there and there, right? Pretty cool, pretty dynamic. That's a pretty cool little kind of color scheme as it kind of cycles the way through in there. I really like the way the extreme lighting comes in through there. Yeah, and then of course you can see the lighting there on the Thor, right, along with the live little wattage, and then even playing around with the anime matrix display that he's got going on there. So definitely you can see that's kind of the beauty of videos. You can see actually how much more the system evolves when actually all that lighting is kind of dynamic and running and kind of going on in there. So it's definitely a fun and dynamic kind of vibe, right? So pretty cool. All right, very, very cool. Let me go ahead and share the love right there. If you guys want to go ahead and check them out, you guys can go ahead and do that. I'm going to drop that link in the chat right there. All right, let's go ahead and see. We're going to go ahead and do 2 more builds, and then we're going to wrap up the Builder Spotlight. But let me see what we got going on. What should we go on here? Ooh, I like this one. I like this one. So let's go with Alexandra Powers and the Mini Eva. All right, let me bring up the submission form here. All right, here we go. The Mini Eva. This is a great looking build. Arox was asking, sorry if I was in Ask Already, any updates on their G-Forms? I've sent an inquiry to our team to go ahead and check. That's actually not managed by ASUS North America. It's actually managed by our headquarters team, so we don't have any involvement in it. Part of our focus on community engagement is what we do with our ASUS PCDIY group. So if you're not part of it, I'd recommend actually joining it there. But I have sent an inquiry to them, but I believe it's just general maintenance on the back end item. So, you know, it's going to be probably some time before it gets back up and running there. But I have sent an inquiry over to see, you know, that resident update if we can have it. And once I do, I'll post that in the group if you're part of the group. All right. So overall, very, very cool. We can actually see we've got a nice kind of compact build. I love the Prime aesthetic right here. Instantly, when I see the lighting on it, you do get a little bit of that space station vibe, which is the inspiration for the latest generation of Prime series based motherboards. And then I really dig the actual EVA Edition based card. Now, the EVA Edition hardware looks fantastic when you combine all together the EVA Edition based hardware. So, you know, we have an EVA Edition chassis and motherboard, cooler, everything we made for the ROG Evangelion series, right? But I really actually think this pairing looks really, really cool. The Prime with the Evangelion base edition. So overall, a very, very, very cool kind of pairing that we see right here. So definitely white being the focus there. Now the EVA Edition, of course, has a non-white based design, but you get this beautiful accent that you have with the RGB light bar, which was customized for the Evangelion based edition, which is one of my favorite design accents. I absolutely love the way that accent looked on there. Very similar to what we did also with the Gundam edition, where it had a custom accent that we also had done on that card. So about the only thing that I see a little bit right here where maybe you could kind of tweak a little bit is maybe getting some bridged cable combs. I think that would tighten up that clean line a little bit and just make it look a little bit nicer right there. But beautifully clean, really nicely laid out, really nicely done. Again, I absolutely love the color scheme right here where we're getting a little bit of that purple with the green and the white. I think it looks fantastic. The layout and the cleanliness of the build is on point. So there's literally nothing to gate on. It's like I said, just literally maybe if you got another set of combs right here, or maybe went with a little bit of a nicer bridged cable comb, maybe even a metal cable comb could look kind of cool. I think maybe even a little silver. The silver could kind of be kind of cool to play off a little bit with the silver that you have right here. That could be kind of an interesting accent, but not necessarily super critical, right? Really digging this look right here and this little venting design. Yeah, so this is almost similar to our AP201 where you have that heavily kind of quasi mesh kind of look that adds a really interesting vibe to it right there. And again, I absolutely love just that nice little design that we have right there on the Evangelion Edition graphic card. And that little kind of UV lighting scheme that you have right there. Overall, very, very cool. It's a fantastic looking build. I love the way that this turned out. PGPCs, that looks awesome. The small form factor works. I definitely agree. I think it does look really, really, really nice. Hey, Lloyd, thanks for coming back. There we go. He says, Shinji, thumbs up. All right, yeah, I would definitely agree. Very, very cool. All right, let's go ahead and see what we got going on right here. So this is from Alexandra Powers. Fantastic job, did a great job right there. Not their first build. Does the build have a theme? Black and white and Evangelion. 3 words to describe the build. Evangelion, clean and quiet. Definitely, I think he nailed it on all those points. The build's name is Mini Eva. This is running also AM5, so we have an AMD 7700X. I think that's the best CPU on AM5, especially if you're talking gaming, because you get the best clocks, right? That single CCD. Great choice right there. A Prime XX70E Prime series motherboard, so it's a great baseline there, very feature rich and great ID design. 32 gigabytes of memory in there, so some G-Skill Flare. 5600 mega transfers right there, SCL36, so really nice balance, and that's also within the official spec right there within the AMD lineup. ROG Strix 3080 Evangelion Edition based graphics card. Then we have an ROG Strix 1000 watt base power supply. Black and white cable mod cables. I think those look great within there. Like I said, maybe just some bridged combs or something like that. Then 2.5 terabytes of PCIe NVMe based storage that you have on board. So that's 2 inland-based M.2 SSDs and then 1 Samsung SSD. Then you guys have your AIO, Capellix from Corsair, some Corsair LL120s, and that's all inside Lianli O11 Air Mini. About $2,200 in terms of the budget. What aspect were they most proud of is that tying the lighting into the limited edition Evangelion card. And I think, yeah, the lighting really fits a nice balance there between, like I said, having that nice like kind of purple gradient into that nice bright green gradient. I think it works really well, along with the purple accenting that you have on the card right there. Is there anything that they would like to change? I changed the custom cable to a different color set, like green and orange and white, or green, purple, and white. Yeah, that could definitely be interesting. Very, really cool. There's been some great builds that we've had in the community from people that have done stuff with the Evangelion that have done some custom cables in there. Yeah, so definitely a lot of inspiration that you could definitely take a look at. How long did it take to put together? A few hours. What do they use the system for? Pretty much for gaming, light work, streaming services to TV. Some of the games they like to play: Call of Duty, Elden Ring, Stardew Valley, Apex Legends, and Minecraft with RTX. Yeah, pretty sweet. Favorite ASUS function or feature is definitely the BIOS layout and all the features that it offers. Alexandra, fantastic job. Definitely get a thumbs up. I like the way that it turned out right there. Very cool. All right, let's go ahead and see. Give me 1 second right here. We've got one more that we're going to go ahead and bring up right here. Can anybody tell me, did I actually cover the one that I actually have in the featured thumbnail? I don't know if I actually featured that one. I think I have not done the one that's in the thumb. Oh yes, that was AK Mods, right? That was in the thumbnail. So let's go ahead and see which one we're gonna wrap it up with. Ooh, so still so many right here. Oh, this one is really nice. And then I think Snef submitted a system in here too that looks really cool. We got 2 red ones, and I don't even know which red one I want to go with here. JC system's pretty awesome, and I think our friend Mr. Pidgey PCs submitted a system too here, if I remember correctly, which was pretty nice. Oh, still many systems. All right, I'm gonna go with a no-namer. We're gonna go with Dennis Braun, and his system did not have a name. But Dennis, I don't know how he got it, but he got it ahead of time. Maybe he's in a different region or he imported it. But his system already has the Ryu 3, and I think it looks pretty cool in his system. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we've got here from Dennis. All right. All right, so here we go. All right, you can see we've got a LAN Lee chassis in there. It looks like a LAN Cool 3, I think. And it already added in the ROG I right there. Okay, let's go ahead and continue in. All right, so we can see we've got some, of course, LAN Lee Uni fans in there, adding a little bit more ROG accents there with a little sticker. We've got a classic ROG Strix-based graphics card in there. We've got an ROG Strix an ROG Maximus Extreme motherboard. You can always tell an Extreme because it's EATX, and then it has, of course, the DIMM.2 slot right there. And then, of course, it also has the Anime Matrix. So we can definitely see and have some nice little bright lighting that we're going to have on there. And then right here, I can already tell from the pump housing, this is going to be the Ryu 3. One of the really cool things about the Ryu 3 is that, of course, it's circular as opposed to the Ryu Jin, which is square, and that has a pixel display as opposed to a traditional LCD display. But I also like that we integrated all the cables into the pump housing, so you don't actually have to worry about making a connection or anything like that. It's a really cool kind of design that really cleans up the overall installation process, so it's pretty slick right there. So that is going to be for the Ryu 3. And there we go. We got the lighting turned on. I'm really digging that vibe. So I'm always a fan of the kind of classic red and black aesthetic because, of course, that's that tried and true ROG design and theme. So always nice to be able to see that. Of course, you've got that high airflow design within this chassis from LAN Lee. Loving that just kind of clean, nice red vibe that you see through the fan grille. That looks really cool. Those LAN Lee Uni fans with that little bit of kind of that infinity kind of type display looks really cool. Adds a little nice little kind of visual flair to it that's nice, right? It just gives you a little bit of an elevated vibe as opposed to just having the accent lighting from just the LEDs on the inside of the fan hub, which is pretty cool. So I'm definitely a fan of that. And then you can see that cool little ROG Eye in terms of the pixel graphics display, which looks pretty clean. And then they added in the ROG right there with the pixel graphics. So you can also see the OLED live dash display that we've got on the Extreme there as well. So looking pretty sweet. And there we go. We blacked it all out now. So now we definitely go into that more kind of classic red and black vibes, but all in black, which looks really nice. So really digging this. This is just a classic clean. This is definitely a JJ kind of vibes for me kind of system. Really digging the overall look. I debate though. I wonder if maybe I would go with maybe a little bit more of a custom cable just to clean that up just a smidge. And I wonder if part of me either might go with something like a more matted cable just to absorb the color scheme a little bit so it wouldn't actually shine at all, or maybe I would go the opposite and actually go with red cables and purposely add a nice pop of red as a contrast. You would only see it probably really in here, a little bit of the red right there, and then the red right there, but I think that could be kind of interesting. So that's just an alternate take to that, but really like the way that these fans look right here, along with that ROG Ryu 3 pump head, and of course the lighting there on the enemy matrix, and then of course the live dash display. So overall, really cool, clean, well executed, nicely done. Yeah, really digging that vibe. Love the design here on the older. This is what we had kind of on the 10 series and the 20 series ROG Strix graphics cards. Really clean black monochrome design. There was actually LEDs on the underside that gave a little bit of kind of bottom lighting, or if you had it vertical, you would see the kind of cool little striped design pattern. And then the lighting there was on the side, and then the lighting that was on the back of the card, right? So PGPC says is that the red looks really nice and the components look awesome in the case. To please my OCD, I wish the fans were the same, but that doesn't take away the build. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, yeah, that's always a tough one, right? Like, because those are the fans that already came with there, and so these have, of course, the nice ring fan barrier design that we have, because those are the fans that come with the Ryu, right? But I kind of like a little bit of the split design, but I could see where if you match them, right? Actually, I think you would lose performance though, because the Lanley fans actually have lower static pressure performance than the ROG fans that come with this radiator. So you would lose a little bit, but I can understand maybe keeping this kind of cool, clean, consistent visual on the bottom and on the top, right? But it still looks great. Yeah. And then looks like here's the before and after. So this is pretty cool to be able to see it. So you can see his kind of older build that he had there for a long time. So coming over here, very interesting from this Silverstone system, right? We're using the non-traditional layout right there with another, it looks like Extreme board, much older series. Oh wow, he's got the Raider. Guys, this is a really cool. If you guys don't know about this, this was the Raider. This was actually our first PCIe SSD. So it was actually 2 SSDs put onto a PCI card in RAID, and it went into a slot. It was pretty cool. I still have a couple of these. It was actually a really cool little card that we did called the ROG Raider. And then here's the Zonar Phoebus. Still, it's almost a bummer that he doesn't use this Phoebus. The Phoebus is still a higher quality audio than you have actually here. Like, I'd actually go back, if it was me, I would put the Phoebus in that slot right there in my system, because it's, like I said, it's a better quality sound card than even the sound card that we have on this board. Although there's some optimized, updated elements that are in the newer ESS Saber DAC that technically have a little bit better oversampling, but the overall audio quality would still be better on the Phoebus. But that's his older system going over into his newer system. Very cool. And there's kind of a nice just shot all the way from the back. And so let's go back. That's a nice shot right there. But I think, which shot did I like a little bit? I don't know. That one's kind of cool and classic, but yeah, I think I'll leave it on that one right there. Let's go right there. Yeah, definitely, I would say quite a mean machine right there. Let's go ahead and see right there. Love the red. Yeah, just like the old ROG days, I'm doing an upgrade to my XG server, going X99 with a Xeon processor. Fixed up my server rack, so I may do another submission soon. Glad I found a reason to build. I got a deal on ASUS WS board. Oh, fantastic. Very, very cool, man. Best of luck with the build. Very, very cool, right? Says, I think that the RTX 30 series card would go well with this build too. The card lacks a bit of RGB, but it's still great anyways. Yeah, that was a little bit more reserved. Of course, the 30 series really elevated the RGB, and it's funny because then we also had some feedback from people who was like, we want less RGB and we want the card to be more clean, more minimal, and there's no pleasing everybody. And so that's interesting, because on the 40 series card we actually scaled back the RGB compared to the 30 series, right? So it's always going to be an interesting kind of balance. I think it still looks fantastic right there, and if you wanted to, you could add in maybe a cool little support, and that support could give you that nice little accent lighting with something like the Herculex or you know, the ROG Strix graphics card holder with just a little bit of undermount lighting. If you wanted to have a centralized lighting weight to that card, that could be an interesting way to take it as well. All right, let me go ahead and just answer this one last question, and we'll wrap things up by reading his submission form. Could I save money by buying two 16 gigabytes DDR4 SODIMMs over buying 32 gigabyte 216 kit? Does manufacturing matching really matter? So SODIMMs is interesting because SODIMMs generally only used in a laptop. So I don't know what you're referring to in that regard, right? If you're talking about buying a total of like 4 DIMMs versus buying a total of 2 DIMMs, right? But Yes, ideally you do always want to match DIMMs, especially even more so kind of in a laptop, because the laptop has much less margin than a desktop-based motherboard. Desktop motherboards are designed to be more accommodating of different types of frequencies, timings, and even voltages. But with laptops, critically, because they're generally not designed for so much performance variability, you would ideally want to match not only the frequency, but ideally the timings. If not, generally the default rules in terms of how the firmware will work for the motherboard, it will go to the lowest common denominator. So whatever is kind of the slowest configuration is what the other DIMMs would run at. Beyond that, the density, depending on the way that the firmware is also designed, ideally you would want to also go with match kits to be able to ensure the dual channel operation is maintained. But in some systems, you can actually run an async configuration and still keep dual channel. All right, let's go ahead and let me bring up his submission form right here, and we'll close things out. All right, so let's see here. We've got Dennis's submission form. So this is going to be from Dennis Braun. And so let's see right here. Not his first build. So does the build have a theme? The ROG Classic Red and Black inspired me. I love it. 3 words to describe the build. Hopefully long lasting like my previous build. Does your build have a name? No special name. So what do you guys think? What should he call it? You guys, why don't you go ahead and chime in what you think he should call it in the chat. This is pretty much flagship series hardware. He's got an ROG Maximus Z790 Extreme with the Ryu 3 cooler. That's our latest generation, highest performing cooler with the brand new 8th generation Asetek based pump. Awesome cooler right there. Then the Core i9 13900K. Then it's also got DDR5 6600 MT kit C34 in there. So some beastly DDR5 memory. 3, that's right, count them, 3 SN850X M.2 base SSDs. And then he has a ROG Strix 2080 Ti graphics card in there from his old build. That's all inside of that LandCool 3, and then a 1000 watt power supply in there. That old build, I was correct in terms that he was also running a Extreme board in there. That was a Z87 Maximus Extreme board that he had in there. And then that classic tried and true 4770K, I'm sure he probably had it overclocked. And then he had that ROG Raider card, as well as the ROG Zonar Phoebus in there. Pretty cool. All right, budget for his build was about $4,000. What is he most proud of is the overall matching look of the components and the color theme. I think it turned out great. Is there anything you would change about the build? Obviously, a Strix 4090 and a nice ROG Strix ATX 3.0 based power supply. He'd love to be able to upgrade those. How long did it take him to build the system? It took him about maybe 3 evening sessions. So let's just say, probably about like 4 to 6 hours, something like that. Maybe a little bit more. And then he loves playing things like Microsoft Flight Simulator, Forza, Red Dead Redemption, and also uses it a bit for work, such as Pix Insight and Adobe Creative Cloud. So his overall favorite feature or function is that he's a big fan of the ROG Extreme series. Their overall features, functions, and designs. Love that it has 10G NIC integrated on there, as well as a nice high quality audio design, which is probably why he decided not to roll over the Phoebus. And he also really loves the ASUS AIOC feature, which is a great way to get more out of that 13900K, along with that Ryu cooler that he's got on there. Overall, man, Dennis, you get a thumbs up from me. I'm liking that name, Red Overdrive. That sounds pretty cool, man. Overall, that brings us to the end of our stream right there. We've got one other right there, Iron Curtain. It's the name of a hack tool and a super weapon in a game I used to play. That's a pretty cool one too. If you want to have something that's a little bit kind of off kilter, a little bit different right there, I think is pretty good. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us for this week's stream. As always, hopefully you guys enjoy your Friday nights. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care, take it easy. If you're gaming on the weekend, hopefully you guys level up and enjoy it. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay warm, and best of wishes to you guys all. So with that, hopefully I'll see you guys in the ASUS PCDIY group. And with that, take care, take it easy, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye, guys. Take care.